Wheelie Into You by Ruth Madison. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved. Read by the author. Chapter 1. I roll up to my brother Marcus's house with my car's windshield wipers on the go ahead and try to keep up setting. The rain that started as a gentle existential crisis 2 days ago has, in a burst of dramatic flair, taken out my apartment and the last of my faith in basement-level studio living. The Corolla's trunk and back seat look like an art supply store, and a thrift shop had a hate-fueled baby. Paint-stained cargo shorts, half-dried canvases wrapped in garbage bags, a crate of mismatched coffee mugs, and what I hope is the better half of my underwear drawer. The whole mess smells like a cross between acrylic medium and wet dog, which tracks. I throw the car into park, lopsided as tradition demands, and before I've even unfastened my seatbelt, my phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Not even a minute's grace. Another buzz. If he's on a different continent, it doesn't show in his typing speed. Buzz. Buzz. I tap to unlock, thumb ready for the predictable avalanche. Hey, welcome. Park as close to the curb as possible. Exactly 6 inches between tire and edge. Use tape measure I left by the mailbox if needed. Avoid walking on lawn. Sod is new. Use walkway only. Enter through side door, not front. Remove shoes immediately inside mudroom. Towels are color-coded by use. Blue equals body, green equals hands, yellow equals emergencies. Let me know when you're in. Good luck. He's a dork. I love him. I also fully intend to ignore at least 60% of this. The rain has escalated into full-on biblical, and I consider the possibility of amphibian evolution before braving it. I wrap my hoodie tight, hood up, and step into ankle-deep runoff, straight onto the lawn, as it turns out. Sorry, Marcus. Somewhere in the sterile gleam of a German university lab, my brother just got a cold chill and doesn't know why. The walkway is barely more solid than the grass, and I slide my way to the trunk. I pop it open and grab the closest bag, my old studio duffel, already leaking blue through the seams. I shoulder it, then hook my purse and a plastic bin of delicates on the other arm, instantly off balance. There's a tactical challenge to this. One hand free for keys, one hand juggling wet containers, no hands left for dignity. My phone buzzes again, because Marcus has the patience of a coked-up squirrel. Forgot to mention, don't use the white towels unless it's a literal medical emergency. I debate a sarcastic reply, but my hands are full and my teeth are busy chattering. The side door, mudroom entrance, is a slippery moss-colored slab that sticks halfway open before I force it. I wedge myself through, shoes squelching loudly on the tile. Perfect. Seamless execution, I mutter, which echoes in the empty corridor. The tile is cold and my socks are soaked, but I'm in. There are, I notice immediately, no hooks or drop zones for guests. Marcus's vision of hospitality is come in, wipe yourself down, don't touch anything. I'm halfway through an eye roll when I notice the open binder on the counter. He's left me a literal manual, printed, laminated, 3-hole punched, and color tabbed. I set my things down with a thud that echoes through the empty house, then peel my hoodie off. My hair plasters itself to my forehead in Medusa waves. I pull it back, wringing out the tips over the sink. Sorry, Marcus. The manual taunts me from the counter, and I flip to the first page. Welcome to House Emerson, I read aloud. Please note all guests must comply with household guidelines for safety and cleanliness, no exceptions. I snort, then catch myself because even in solitude, the force of Marcus's rules is weirdly shaming. That last line is definitely directed at me. Even his sister shouldn't consider trying to get away with anything. The welcome mat in the mudroom is already defeated, and my wet socks have left a sodden trail of muddy footprints into the kitchen. If Marcus wanted a forensic trail of my rebellion, he's got it. I'll wipe down the floor with some paper towels later, but right now I need to go back out to the car for round 2. The second haul from the car is heavier. A tub of paints, the box of cleaning supplies, and a rolled-up painting that smells distressingly like mildew. I shoulder through the door, balancing my load with the precision of a Cirque du Soleil dropout, and deposit everything just inside on the tile. The color splotches on the box leave faint marks behind. A painter's protest against the pristine. Out of breath and fully drenched, I shut the door behind me, then rest my forehead against the cool wood. The house is so quiet, it amplifies the internal soundtrack of my discontent. I reach for my phone, fingers shaking, and text Marcus back. No injuries, towels survived, reason white towels noted, thanks. I consider the towels. Yellow is for emergencies, but this feels like one, at least for my hair. Having been washed less, the yellow towels are the fluffiest and most desirable. I grab one and dry my hair aggressively, fluffing it until I look like a startled dandelion, then toss the towel back on its rack slightly off-kilter. There's no doubt Marcus has cameras set up and will be checking his feed to see just how much I ignore his instructions. At least he's across the ocean, and the only thing he can do about it is send angry texts, which are easy enough to ignore. I make it to the fridge, open it, and find it stocked with only the Marcus essentials: sparkling water, eggs, pre-sliced cheese, peanut butter, the kind you have to attack with a spoon to make it usable, and jars of at least 5 different varieties of pickles. The sight of it almost makes me laugh. I grab a can of the sparkling water, pop it, and take a long, bracing sip. "Welcome home, Laney," I say to no one, and flop onto the only soft surface in sight, the small sofa in the living room. I may have called it a soft surface, but that description is relative. The sofa is upholstered within an inch of its life, the stiff fabric pulled taut. For a second I think I'm going to bounce off it like a trampoline, but instead I manage to sort of lounge across it, even if my body doesn't make a dent. Through the window the rain hasn't let up, and neither has the lump of nerves in my chest. I know I should check my paintings, especially the ones earmarked for the exhibition in August. I'm too scared. I'll look later. Maybe tomorrow, or maybe 2 hours before the show starts. I finish the drink, crush the can, and reference the manual to locate the recycling bin. If this were my place, I'd be barefoot, music blaring, maybe a quick sketch or a mug of tea left to steep on the counter. Here I feel like an intruder in a museum, every move observed by the invisible curators of Marcus's order. I make my way to Marcus's room, and even though I'd much rather sleep on my t-shirt cotton sheets, I don't know where they are, or if they made it out with me at all. What I have is the satin ones already on the bed. Maybe tomorrow I can replace them with my own sheets, and Marcus never needs to know that I used his. Why he told me to take his room and not his guest room is beyond me, but I'm not about to spend my energy on trying to understand Marcus's decision-making. Nor am I spending any mental energy on how 2 children raised in the same house by the same parents turned out so differently. Chapter 2. The first morning I wake up sideways on the bed, perhaps from the slippery sheets. For a moment I'm completely confused about where I am. Then the sterile bedroom comes into focus, and my brother's lack of any personal style is so distinctly him that it becomes a style, and I remember I'm in his bedroom. I look around blearily. His closet door is open, but the closet itself is completely empty. He probably has one single capsule wardrobe that goes with him wherever he travels. In all the quiet white emptiness, I'm surprised to see a few framed photos on a utilitarian table at the far end of the room. I wander over and look at each one. A formal family portrait taken when I was 10 and he was 13. We're wearing our Sunday best clothes and look as stiff as though our bodies had been starched. Then his official graduation photo when he got his PhD. There's just one candid picture, and it brings a smile to my face. It's a rare memory that is meaningful for both of us. It was taken on the porch of a lake house the summer I was 14 and Marcus was 17. His best friend Dax came on that trip too. Marcus was able to take samples of the lake water and run experiments with support from a local college. For me, it was a special summer because Dax taught me how to catch a fish. I still remember him standing so close to me at the water's edge, placing his hands near mine on the fishing pole, and the sudden excited tug when a fish bit the line. I look now at the 2 awkward and gangly teenage boys in the picture, but it doesn't match my memory of Dax as my brother's devastatingly handsome and cool best friend. That's when I realize there's a faint noise down the hallway, an off-rhythm clatter. I pause, toes curling on the cold hardwood floor, and listen harder. Definitely something in the kitchen. For a wild second, I imagine an exceptionally organized raccoon. Then remember the neighbors don't even let birds on the feeder unless they've been properly vetted. Even though now is the time I should be calling the police, I pad closer instead, following the smell of actual human breakfast. Not the protein bar or liquid meal solution favored by Marcus, but something doughy and rich spiked with vanilla. I slow as I hit the threshold, leaning against the doorframe. There's a man at the stove. For a moment my chest tightens and my breath catches in my throat. Dax Hayes, the man himself. I haven't seen him in at least 10 years. And this is the first time I'm seeing him in a wheelchair. I knew about the hiking accident a few years back. News like that spreads from mother to mother through a whole town in a matter of hours, and soon after that into the diaspora of grown children. But even though I knew about the chair, I'm still in shock watching how well he moves. It's so natural, I could easily forget I've ever seen this man walk. None of his teenage awkwardness remains. He's grown into his body the way some people grow into money or power, seamlessly, as if it was inevitable. He's one-handedly flipping a pancake that's larger than my entire face. He doesn't notice me, or if he does, he's pretending. His arms, muscled and tan, shift as he reaches for a clean plate from the upper cabinet. Wait, how does he... He's got a system, is how. He slides a spatula under the pancake, rolls backward with a practiced spin, catches the plate as it tumbles from the shelf, and rolls forward again in one seamless, audacious display of competence. My brother would be having a heart attack if he could see this. Dax is also, now that I'm seeing him up close, extremely shirtless. In my brother's kitchen at 8:15 a.m. There is no protocol for this in the guest manual. He finally glances over. His eyes are so blue I can see them from across the room, and they're crinkled with sleep. His grin, however, is fully caffeinated. "Morning," he says, as if it's the most ordinary thing in the world to be shirtless and making pancakes in someone else's house. "Is this a prank?" I blurt before the rest of me is awake enough to filter anything. He raises an eyebrow and pours more batter into the skillet, the sizzle filling the silence. I don't know how he can even see into the pan, as it's practically at his eye level. "Just a little hospitality." He glances up at my hair. "You look spikier than I remember." "Hilarious," I mutter. He gestures with the spatula. "Coffee's fresh. Marcus said you liked the really strong stuff, so I made it strong enough to wake the dead." I scan the countertop. There is indeed a mug waiting for me, already half filled and steaming. The mug itself is one of my own, gray with chipped enamel, rescued from the flood and now relocated to a universe where people actually have time to hand-wash their dishes. I wrap my hands around it, feeling the residual warmth soak into my cold skin. "Marcus didn't say anything about a housemate," I manage, and my voice cracks on the last syllable. It hits me now that he was in the guest room last night when I arrived. He heard every second of my chaotic entrance. Dax flips another pancake and shrugs. "I'm more like a house plant. Just need sunlight and the occasional watering." He's wearing sweatpants, clean, dark, and just tight enough to telegraph that yes, he does leg day, even if his legs don't. His wheelchair is black, aerodynamic, tricked out with an orange racing stripe. The whole package is so aggressively competent that I'm suddenly aware that I have toothpaste crust at the corner of my mouth and a stain on my t-shirt from a midnight Snickers. "Nice wheels," I say, because I don't know what else to do. He grins wider. "Thanks. Marcus bought me the stripe for my birthday. His love language is minor automotive upgrades." "That tracks," I mutter, and take a careful sip of coffee. It's perfectly strong, just shy of tar, the way I actually like it. I'm relieved, and also furious at how quickly I am disarmed by caffeine. Dax watches me over his shoulder, catching my reaction. He nods with satisfaction as I take another sip. The pancakes stack up impossibly tall, and he starts plating them with the precision of a Food Network host. I realize I've been staring at his arms for the last 40 seconds and quickly look away, focusing on the endless gleam of the stovetop. "So," I say, "how long have you been squatting here?" "I got in last week. My place is getting renovated, and Marcus said I could stay until the dust settles." My stomach does a weird lurch. "Oh, so you're here for the duration." He slides a stack of pancakes onto a plate and scoots it across the island in my direction. "Unless you want to fight me for it," he says, nodding towards the plate, "in which case I have to warn you my upper body strength is off the charts." I accept the plate and bring it to the kitchen table, suddenly self-conscious about every movement. My hair is doing that thing where it expands outward with humidity. My pajama pants are small enough to qualify as questionable, and I haven't even checked to see if my socks match. Meanwhile, Dax looks like a promo shot for an athletic wear line. He's far more muscled than the last time I saw him. His bare chest is broad and thick with dark curling hair. The upper part of his stomach is chiseled with visible abs, but they fade into a softer belly. A few old scars mark a path around to his back. "Do you always cook shirtless?" I ask, "or is this like a tradition for new tenants?" He fakes a look of surprise, glancing down at himself. "Is it bothering you?" "Yes," I say, because I am incapable of lying before 10 a.m., but only in the sense that I feel aggressively overdressed. He laughs, the sound bouncing off the hard kitchen surfaces. "If it makes you feel better, I can put on a tie." "That would be worse," I say. We both smile, and the moment stretches just long enough to feel dangerous. I sit down at the table abruptly. The chair is too hard, the edge too sharp, and I'm convinced Marcus bought it specifically to dissuade lingering. Dax is lucky he brought his own. I pour syrup onto my pancakes, hands shaking a little. Dax pours himself coffee, smooth and unhurried, then tucks the mug between his legs, instantly drawing my eyes straight to his crotch. I blush and pretend to be very invested in how I pour syrup, while he adds a plate of pancakes on top and rolls over, sliding into place across the table from me. "So," he says, "flood, huh?" I nod, mouth full, and try not to think about the mildew smell haunting my suitcase. Basement apartment, poor life choices. Marcus has already sent me 3 articles on the importance of flood insurance. He snorts. "Sounds about right." I take another bite, then risk a look up. "You really haven't changed much." Dax cocks his head, blue eyes bright. "That's not something I hear much these days," he says with a smirk down at his motionless legs. "Is it a compliment or a complaint?" "I'll let you know after I finish the pancakes." He raises his mug in a silent toast, and for a moment the kitchen doesn't feel so hostile. The silence is warm, occupied, and I'm suddenly aware of how much I've missed just being in a room with someone who isn't me. Dax breaks the silence first. "So what's the plan, Laney? You going to be painting masterpieces all summer, or is this your villain origin story?" I choke a little, and he waits, perfectly patient, until I recover. "Plan? I'm supposed to have a plan?" "You always did." He shrugs like it's obvious. "Even when you and Marcus were little, you'd scheme for days before you did anything. Usually ended in fire or vandalism, but the planning was impressive." "That was Marcus," I protest, then pause. "Okay, fine, sometimes it was me." He points his fork at me. "You once staged a fake art show in the garage, charged the neighbors for lemonade and original works of genius. Marcus said you got more business than the Girl Scouts." "That's not..." I start to object, then realize it is exactly true. I stand by the product. Dex grins again. "I hear you're famous now, basement flood and all." I flush, remembering the local news spot Marcus submitted without my permission. Don't remind me. "Why not? The footage of you wading out with your portfolio above your head was peak drama." "Peak humiliation, maybe," I say, and hope he doesn't notice how fast I demolish the pancakes. He lets it slide, but his gaze lingers. I wish I could say it makes me uncomfortable, but it's something else, like a challenge, or a dare. The conversation shifts to lighter things. Dax updates me on the state of Marcus's legendary rulebook. He's added a spreadsheet for the fridge inventory, and how his own apartment disaster has left him living out of 2 suitcases and a collection of wheel parts. We compare notes on our favorite coffee shops, our mutual loathing of football, and the universal truth that every landlord is secretly plotting your demise. Dax's wit is sharp and fast, far more honed than I remember. Where I use dry humor as a shield, Dax wields it like a saber, probing, teasing, always 2 moves ahead. It's annoying, and also kind of exhilarating. I forget to be self-conscious, at least until I realize I'm sitting with my knees tucked up and syrup on my chin. "Here," he says, tossing a napkin across the table. His aim is perfect, the napkin landing right in front of me. "You missed a spot." I dab at my face, pretending not to notice his smirk. "You're a real gentleman, Hayes." "I do my best," he says, voice low and steady. There's a pause, and for the first time the air feels a little less safe. Not tense exactly, just charged. I remember with sickening clarity the one and only time Dax ever really flustered me. I was 16, he was 19, and he caught me sneaking a look at him while he and Marcus fixed a bike in the garage. He'd grinned, same as now, and I'd spent the rest of the summer avoiding eye contact. It's been a decade, and here we are again. Dax drains his mug and sets it down with a deliberate thunk. "I've got a meeting in 20, but after that I'm free. Want to take bets on how long it takes Marcus to watch the security footage and notice you left your muddy bag on the kitchen floor?" I give it 6 hours, I say. 12 if he's distracted by his Sudoku. Dax pushes back from the table, spinning his chair with an elegant pivot. "You're on. Anything less than 6 and I win. Loser does dishes tonight." "You're going down," I say, and I mean it. He grins, this time with a challenge in it, and rolls toward the guest room. Hopefully to put on a shirt, though I admit I don't know what kind of work he does. This is not the summer I planned, and I have no idea what's about to happen next, but for the first time since the flood, I'm not entirely dreading it. Chapter 3. 2 hours later, Marcus has texted us both pictures of the offending bag with strict instructions on how to clean the floor underneath. Dax rolls into the doorway of the bedroom where I have been staring at a blank sketch pad and pretending not to listen to him charming everyone in his Zoom meeting. There's a smug glint in his eye. That sounded suspiciously like less than 6 hours. I glare at him and mutter, "Damn it." He clucks his tongue and rolls away, saying over his shoulder, "You should probably get the mud cleaned up before you do the dishes." "Jerk," I call after him, and I hear a chuckle. He's not wrong, though. I pull up the text and follow Marcus's instructions to the letter, making sure the cameras can see me doing it. Then I'm on to the dishes. To be honest, I don't mind the excuse to avoid the work I should be doing. Instead of looking at the gaps in my portfolio, I hum and dance while putting in the dishes. How are there so many? I've only been here one day. "Oh my God, have you ever loaded a dishwasher in your life? What are you doing to those poor spoons?" I almost jump out of my skin as Dax glides into the kitchen and maneuvers himself between me and the sink. "I'll have you know, I've been doing my own dishes for several years now," I say. Dax surveys my work and shakes his head. "Marcus warned me not to trust you with household chores." "He did what?" "Especially dishes," Dax continues pointedly. Okay, I back up, "but unloading it, we race. And when I win, you have to make me pancakes again." He snorts. "And if I win?" I pause, caught. "You get to pick the music for the rest of the day," I offer, knowing full well that Dax's taste ranges from screamo to German EDM. "Deal," he says as he elbows me out of the way. With the dishwasher humming away, it's time to face the fact that there is no edible food in this house. We both stare into the fridge, even though it hasn't changed since I looked at it last night. "Why does he have so many pickles? Is he secretly running a deli?" I mutter. "Emergency sodium," Dax replies, "in case he gets too hydrated." I grab a protein shake, read the label, and wince. It says unflavored. That's the saddest word in the English language. Dax shuts the fridge with a sigh. "We need a food intervention." I lean against the counter. "What's your schedule?" "Meeting at 2, but I could push it if you want to make a run." I hesitate. I really am under a deadline. I have applications I need to send out for art shows, and I need to figure out which pieces will go with which applications, what gaps there are in my portfolio, and hopefully even create the missing pieces. But I do have to eat. "It's a plan," I say. "So we shop together?" he asks, like it's the most natural thing in the world. "I guess so," I say, surprised by how okay that sounds. "I'll drive." "No way," Dax says. "I'm not getting in that dumpster you call a car. I'll drive." I blink. "Wait, seriously?" Dax smirks. "Contrary to popular belief, disabled people do drive." "No, I just didn't realize you had a car here." I trail off flustered. It's a stupid attempt to cover my ignorance, and I don't think he believes me. He's already wheeling toward the side door as he says, "Come on, chaotic one, you can DJ." I realize suddenly that I haven't seen Dax enter or exit the house. There are steps up to the front door and a few at the mudroom entrance, too. I run after him just in time to see him pull up into a wheelie, leaning his upper body slightly forward for balance, and literally bounce down 3 stairs on his back wheels. He looks back over his shoulder from the path and says, "You coming?" I pick my jaw up off the floor and stagger after him. Outside, I see his car is actually parked close to mine. I must have missed seeing it in all the rain. I watch as he lifts his body into the driver's seat using his arms and pulls his legs in after. Quickly, he disassembles the empty wheelchair and tosses the wheels and the frame into the back seat like a well-used puzzle. Before he questions me again, I hurry around to get into the passenger seat. My gaze catches on the thin metal rods attached to the car's pedals that lead up to levers on the steering wheel that Dax's expert fingers are maneuvering. "Oh," I murmur, realization clicking into place. "That's how." He glances at me. "You good?" "Yeah," I say, just mentally adjusting my entire worldview. He chuckles and starts the car. "Brace yourself. I parallel park like a legend." Now's my chance to torture him with my music, and I pull out my phone, plugging it into the charger. There's a variety of playlists I could have chosen, but I'm going for maximum impact, so I pick Incredible String Band. I watch his reaction as the rambling guitar plucks and mumbly voice of First Girl I Loved begins. Dax manages to do nothing more than press his lips together tightly. But as the raw, fragile, warbling melody continues, he finally cracks and says, "Do you actually like this?" "It grows on you," I insist. Which is the honest truth. I wasn't a fan the first time my mother played it for me, and yet I couldn't stop thinking about it after. I began to crave every broken note. At the grocery store, we don't actually need to parallel park. Dax pulls into the accessible spot closest to the door and turns the car off, with a sigh of relief, my music instantly cutting out. I get out of the car and wait for him to put the pieces of his wheelchair back together. For the first time, I realize why accessible parking spots have the extra lines. Dax needs the space to set up his chair and get back into it. Today has already been more educational than any day of college, and all we've done is go for a grocery run. We don't even make it past the produce aisle before things go off the rails. I need grapes, I declare, yanking a bag from the pile. Dax eyes them. You need 3 pounds of grapes? They're emotional support fruit. He wheels alongside the cart I'm steering and tosses in a box of frozen waffles. You're judging me for grapes and you're buying those? Waffles are a universal need. We argue all the way through dairy. He accuses me of being bougie for insisting on oat milk. I accuse him of emotional repression for not buying chocolate chips. At some point we end up in a cart traffic jam with an elderly couple and a screaming toddler, and I nearly knock over a cereal display trying to maneuver around Dax's wheels. This is why we can't have nice things, I whisper. Maybe you can't, he says. I, however, am thriving. I smack his shoulder, and he pretends to be wounded. The elderly couple are staring at me, and I think they might be about to report me for abuse of the disabled. Eventually we make it to checkout, our cart overflowing with the exact opposite of Marcus's fridge staples. There are cookies, there are 4 kinds of chips, there's something called artisanal ranch whip that I still don't fully understand. Dax scans the pile with quiet pride. This is our legacy now. Just wait until Marcus sees this, I say. He chuckles. He's going to go pale and reorganize everything by fiber content. Back at the house, I hardly have a minute to wonder how Dax is going to get back up the stairs before he's already doing it. I feel dumb. There's so many things in life that I never for a moment considered Dax needing to adapt to. Why is it that I've never thought about people needing to do these things from wheelchairs until it's right in front of my face? And people who don't have Dax's incredible strength and balance wouldn't even be able to perform the maneuver he's currently executing. He's got a grocery bag on his lap, and he's pulled up to the side of the front steps with a railing. He reaches up and grabs it with one hand, then grips the push rim of the wheel on the opposite side with his other hand. He pulls on the railing at the same time as he pushes the wheel, ratcheting up one step and hovering there for a moment before doing the whole thing again. As he reaches for a higher spot on the railing, there's a sickening moment where it looks like he's about to tumble backwards, but he grabs hold just in time. Can I at least spot you? I say from behind, more grocery bags pulling on both my arms. He grunts, and I'm not sure if that's a yes or a no, but clearly he can't expend any additional effort on clarifying for me. 100% of his energy and effort is occupied by the stairs. Whether he wants me to or not, I follow close behind him on the stairs, making sure my body will be in the way if he loses his grip. The back of his shirt is soaked through with sweat by the time he reaches the top, and swings open the front door, trying to pretend that was the most natural way in the world to climb stairs. His labored breathing gives him away, though. I don't comment. Instead, I drop the bags I'm carrying and take a detour to the bathroom. When I come out, Dax has one hand already in a bag. Oh, no, you don't, I say, lunging for the second bag on the counter. He doesn't even flinch. You snooze, you lose. I was washing my hands, I protest, yanking out a rogue cucumber and a can of chickpeas. Some of us have hygiene. And some of us already started winning. He's got a box of pasta on his lap and is wheeling toward the pantry like he's storming Normandy. Wait, what are the rules? I call after him. Rules are for people who can't freestyle, he tosses over his shoulder. Chaos begins. We both descend on the pantry at once. He's reaching for the middle shelf with a box of Triscuits while I'm trying to wedge almond butter behind the oatmeal like a Tetris block that just won't rotate. Can you move? I say, bracing myself against the wall as I try to angle around his chair. I am moving, he says, shifting a few inches. His footplate taps my ankle. You're in the way. You're in the entire pantry, I shoot back, reaching past him for the shelf with the canned goods. Our arms collide in the same bag. We both freeze, hands around the same jar of peanut butter. There's a beat, just long enough for my brain to register the warmth of his forearm, the steady pressure of his hand next to mine. Not electric, not fireworks, just solid. Like we're suddenly 2 pieces of the same ridiculous puzzle. You gonna let go? I ask, voice lower than I intended. He doesn't. Technically, I had it first. Technically, you're hoarding protein. He grins, but doesn't budge. Say you forfeit, and I'll release the peanut butter. I narrow my eyes. Not a chance. We both tug at the same time. The jar slips free and rockets straight into the cereal shelf, knocking down a cascade of granola, raisins, and an open box of Frosted Flakes that explodes across the floor. We both stare at the carnage. Truce, I say, already stepping back. He exhales a laugh. Temporary ceasefire. I grab the broom and he gets the dustpan. For a few moments we work together to clean up the spill. Then we retreat to our respective sides of the kitchen, regrouping with mock seriousness. I pull a new can from my bag and edge toward the pantry, slower this time. Dax mirrors me, a bottle of olive oil in one hand. But just as I reach to tuck the soup next to the ramen, he wheels in at an angle, arms stretching for the same spot. We bump again, shoulder to chest this time. I glance down. He's close. Closer than I expected. His breath is calm. Mine's not. I think we're going to need a traffic controller, I mutter, stepping to the side. Or a referee, he murmurs, not moving. This is getting violent. You're the one using your wheelchair like a battering ram. He chuckles and reverses with a smooth pivot, spinning to open a cabinet on the other side. I take the chance to cram a whole sleeve of crackers into the snack bin with questionable legality. You're cheating, he calls without looking. You can't prove that. I can see the bulge. Stop looking at my snack bulge. He barks a laugh so loud I nearly drop the spaghetti. We both hustle through the last few items. He loads yogurt with surgical precision while I toss spices like I'm stalking a chaotic apothecary. Somehow, we land at the pantry at the same time again, each with one final can in hand. One shelf, one spot. I was here first, we say in unison. The pause is longer this time. His eyes flick to mine. Well? I glance at the shelf, then back at him. We could share it. He raises a brow. Joint custody of the lentils? Every other Wednesday, holidays alternate. He huffs a quiet laugh and lifts his hand. Go ahead. I place my can on the shelf, slow and dramatic, then turn with a flourish. Victory! Fine, he says, nudging the last of his groceries into place. You win pantry. I still have dishwasher unloading to redeem myself. For the rest of the afternoon, I force myself to get some actual work done. When I finally emerge, Dax is still at the table, laptop open, phone to his ear. His voice is low, professional, all clipped syllables and careful diction. I hover in the doorway, waiting for a break in the call, but he waves me in with the flick of his hand like it's no big deal. I cross to the fridge, keeping my back to him, and pull out the jar of pasta sauce I picked out at the store and 2 kinds of Parmesan. I grab a pot to boil spaghetti. The whole time I can feel his eyes on me between bursts of conversation. He ends the call, tosses the phone on the table, and says, You know, your hair's going for a real mad scientist look today. You want me to grab you a beaker? I glance at my reflection in the microwave door. My hair is a cloud of brown, unbrushed and floating like I'm one static charge away from summoning lightning. I'd kill for a beaker, I say. Or maybe just a comb. Dax grins, but it's gentler than usual. I could try to fix it for you. My skills are mostly limited to 3-in-1 body wash, but I'm a quick study. I snort. You'd tangle it worse and then blame the shampoo. Nice of you to offer, though. He drums his fingers on the table, watching. I'm a full-service roommate. Funny, I thought you were only here to supervise the appliances. Only when you're awake, he fires back. Otherwise, the house is at the mercy of your creative process. I can't help it. I smile. Dax leans back in his chair, stretches, and I catch myself staring at the soft white strip of flesh exposed as his shirt lifts. He notices and raises an eyebrow, but doesn't comment. Instead, he nods at the pot and says, You making enough to share? I am now. I dump in the rest of the box. The clink of forks against plates is the loudest sound in the room for a solid 30 seconds. Dax lifts a twisted heap of spaghetti to his mouth and chews thoughtfully. Okay, this is not bad. I raise an eyebrow. Wow, put that on a billboard. I'm just saying, for someone who claims to live on breakfast cereal and cold brew, you made actual food. It's a surprise. I twirl my own fork lazily. I have a chaotic relationship with food, not a total inability to boil pasta. He grins. Apologies to your honor. The kitchen is weirdly cozy despite the antiseptic vibe Marcus insists on. Everything is labeled, stacked, aligned, but somehow the pasta steam makes it feel less surgical. So, you do put a shirt on for your job, I noticed. He grins. I appreciate you noticing. Marcus never actually told me what field you ended up in. He lifts an eyebrow. Seriously? Marcus didn't give you the full dossier on me? I skipped that part of the sibling newsletter. Dax sets down his fork and leans back, crossing his arms like he's bracing for mockery. I work in brand strategy. I blink. That's not what I pictured. He grins. What did you picture? Something involving code, or coffee, or possibly underground poker. 2 out of 3 is not bad. So wait, brand strategy like logos? Kind of, he says. I help businesses figure out who they are and how to say it, what to show, how to build trust, what their voice sounds like. fonts are involved. PowerPoints happen. Wow, I say, genuinely surprised. That's actually cool. You sound surprised. I am, I admit. I didn't realize you were the suit and strategy type. I clean up well, he says with a smirk. But mostly I just help people get out of their own way. Did you always want to do that? Actually, no. I started in architecture. Thought I'd build spaces that didn't suck for people like me. Then I realized I'd have to fight a whole system just to get in the door, literally and metaphorically. No one wanted to hear about designing for bodies like mine. They thought ramps were a postscript, not a beginning. So I switched to communication design and made peace with Adobe. Oof, that sucks. But seems like you're thriving now. Your turn, he says, cocking an eyebrow. What would you have done if the world didn't suck and money didn't exist? Animated raccoons with anxiety for Pixar. He blinks. That's specific. Her name was Midge, I say. She stole things from campers and hoarded them in a hollowed tree. He laughs. I would absolutely watch that. Yeah, well, art school was a soul-crushing spiral of critique circles and creative burnout. I made it through 2 years before I flamed out. I've been floundering in side jobs and sketchbooks ever since. Ah, the reclusive genius path. More like the spiraling in pajamas path, but thanks. Okay, what's one thing someone should know before living with you? I snort, jumping straight to the compatibility questionnaire. Just getting ahead of future conflict. Spoken like a true brand communicator. He just looks at me and waits for my answer. I chew the inside of my cheek. I always pretend I'm fine until I've ruined something important. Dax is quiet for a moment. Your turn, I say, because I need to break the moment before it swallows me whole. He leans forward, bracing his forearms on the table. I don't ask for help until I'm literally on the floor. I blink. Wait, really? Literally? Sure. I'll be trying to reach something or lose my balance during a transfer and boom, floor. Honestly, only having half your body to work with is a bit of a disadvantage in several areas. I gape. I've yet to see him so much as wobble. His balance seems impeccable. And what do you do when that happens? He shrugs, completely calm. Lay there, swear a little, eventually haul myself back into the chair. If I can't get up, I wait for someone to find me. I stare at him. You're way too chill about that. It's just life. Sometimes gravity wins. I shake my head. You are unreal. I'm very real, he says, and occasionally horizontal. We're both laughing now. That easy kind of laugh that fills up the cracks. Will you ever let me help you, I ask. Probably not, he admits. Don't take it personally. And then he looks at me, really looks at me, and says, I think you should design Midge the emotionally unstable raccoon as a sticker set for Etsy. The buzzer on the dishwasher goes off and our eyes meet, the gleam of competition clear. We both instantly lunge towards it. I go for the plates, grabbing 3 at once and stacking them with the reckless speed of someone who's worked food service. Dax's strategy is pure finesse, one hand on the glass, one guiding the wheelchair for a perfect perpendicular dock at the cupboard. I'm up by 2 plates before he's even started on the wine glasses, but then I lose precious seconds trying to figure out where Marcus wants the salad bowls. You know he reorganized everything, Dax says, not looking up. Shut up and race, I say. He's making up ground fast. I can hear the clink of glasses and the soft, smug hum he lets out every time he lands one on the shelf. It's infuriating and also kind of motivating. My hands move faster, and for a moment I forget that it's a competition and just enjoy the efficiency of motion, the snap and stack and clatter of everything finding its place. We hit the last stretch. 2 mugs, 1 wine glass, a spatula. I reach for the wine glass, nestled in the lower rack, but it's tucked in the far corner just out of my reach without practically crawling into the machine. Dax sees it too, grins. You're too slow, he says, already spinning into position. Before I can protest, he leans forward over the open dishwasher door, triceps flexing, back arching in that unfairly distracting way as he reaches deep into the rack. He holds onto the back of his wheelchair with one hand so he can stretch the other arm all the way to the glass. The whole movement is fluid, practiced, stupidly graceful. For one heart-stupid second, I imagine what it would feel like if he were reaching for me like that. Intent, focused, smiling like he already knows he's going to win. The thought hits too hard. And then he snags the glass, rolls back, and lifts it like a trophy. Game point, he says, smug as hell. But I've already palmed the mugs, stacked them with a satisfying slam into the cabinet, and pivot to the spatula, only to find his hand already there, my fingers closing over his. His thumb brushes my knuckles as he takes the spatula, not gently. "Nice try," he says. I refuse to let go. "I'm pretty sure this is interference," I say, and tug back, which only brings us closer. For a terrifying second, I think that I've pulled him right out of his chair. But no, he's still in complete control. He laughs. "You're not going to make this easy, are you?" "Where's the fun in that?" I fire back, and this time I'm the one who won't blink. His fingers tighten just enough to remind me he's stronger than me. "Let go," he murmurs, eyes locked on mine, smug and unshakable. "I don't think so." He leans in slightly, just enough to crowd my space. "Okay," he says, deceptively calm. "Your choice." And then, with the kind of infuriating precision that only comes from years of upper body dominance and a lifetime of being underestimated, he twists the spatula free from my grip with one flick of his wrist. He spins his chair half a turn, rolls back, and deposits it neatly in the drawer like a mic drop. I blink. "Did you just win?" he says, already backing away. "Yeah, I did." I fold my arms. "Fine, you win." He leans back in his chair, triumphant. "Say it again. Slower." "Don't push your luck," I mutter, but I'm smiling. He pulls out his phone and opens his music app. "Hope you're ready for German techno remixes of sea shanties." I take it back. Too late. He cues up the playlist, and the kitchen fills with a thudding beat and vaguely nautical chanting. I groan. This is not music, this is punishment. It should be threatening, the way he takes up so much space and energy, but instead it just feels fun. He pushes off from the counter, spinning his chair. He's almost at the hall when he turns and gives me a look that's part challenge, part something else. "Hey, Laney?" "Yeah?" He grins. "You're a lot more fun when you're not pretending to be normal." I want to say something witty, something devastating, but instead I just stand there, caught between a smirk and a smile. Dax disappears back into the guest room, but I can still hear his music. Chapter 4. The next morning, I attempt a rare act of discipline and set my alarm to 7. The logic is that if I'm up first, I'll have time to shower and reclaim my dignity before Dax can resume his campaign to make me feel like a sitcom sidekick in my own life. I grab my clothes and beeline for the hall bath. I don't make it past the linen closet. There's a thunderous crash from inside the bathroom, followed by a string of muttered profanity so creative I pause to admire the construction. I flatten myself against the wall as the door swings open, exhaling a blast of steam, and Dax, freshly showered, naked except for a towel across his lap, beads of water tracking down his chest. "Everything okay in there?" Sounded like an unexpected elephant stampede. "Remarkably close," he says, running a hand through his damp hair, causing the towel covering his lap to shift dangerously. It was wildebeest. "But you're okay?" I try to ignore the water dripping from his hair to his collarbone to, "Nope, not going there. Abort mission." "What's your assessment? Do I look okay?" "Better than okay, if I'm being honest." I notice his bare feet completely still on the wheelchair footplate, and I'm struck with an intense urge to ask him what it's like to not be able to feel parts of your body. Luckily, despite the early hour, I'm able to stop the words before they tumble out of my mouth. "You pass inspection," I say graciously, and he grins. "The shower curtain rod is going to need some CPR, though," he says. He pivots neatly, making space just wide enough for me to slip by. I do, but not without the brush of his arm against mine, the heat of his skin. I step into the bathroom and find it even steamier than advertised. My reflection is already starting to fog, which is a mercy. I see that the shower curtain rod is indeed on the floor, the curtain itself heaped underneath. I frown. Did he fall in here? I turn back and find him still in the hallway watching. He can probably see the question on my face, but I'm not going to ask it. Instead, I pick the rod up off the floor and stand on my tiptoes to wedge it back into the shower. Then I grab a towel from the rack, but before I can close the door, Dax says, mock scandalized, "You're not using the yellow towel, are you?" "It was closest," I say, and fling it over the curtain rod. He makes a tisking sound. That's a violation. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want me to use the medical emergency white towel? Are you expecting another stampede?" I shoot back. He laughs, shifting in his chair, the towel miraculously staying in place. "You really don't respect the system." I barely respect gravity at this point. I instantly regret it, remembering too late that Dax might have just fallen a few minutes ago. He rolls closer, bracing one hand on the doorframe. There's a drop of water on his shoulder. I watch it trace a line down his bicep and disappear. He leans in, voice low. "You know, Marcus told me to keep an eye on you. I'm sure he did, I mutter, suddenly hyper-aware of the flush crawling up my neck. He said you're a chaos agent. He said that? And also that you never back down from a challenge. I bristle, which is exactly what he wants. Are you challenging me to a towel standoff? I'm challenging you to a shower schedule, he says, smiling wickedly, unless you think you can beat me to the bathroom every morning. I could beat you if I had a 5-minute head start in rollerblades, I say. He considers. I accept your terms. First one in the bathroom gets the yellow towel, loser gets the blue. I hate the blue, I say, because I do. It's scratchy and smells like industrial detergent. Motivation, he says. You'll need it. He pushes off, rolling backward down the hall. See you at the finish line, Laney. I shut the door, heart pounding. It's not until I hang up the yellow towel that I realize I'm smiling. The bathroom is still thick with steam, Dax's scent, clean, sharp, with a hint of some cologne I can't name, hanging in the air. I strip down, step into the shower, and let the hot water scald the last of the awkwardness away. It's only after I finish that I notice the plastic bench folded in next to the toilet. It's a reminder that once again, no matter how normal Dax makes it look, he still has to adapt to things I never even think about. The house has a cycle to it, even if Marcus isn't here to enforce one. Mornings belong to coffee and territorial skirmishes over the dishwasher and shower. Afternoons are spent in a peaceable truce, Dax in the living room with his laptop, me in the back sunroom with my canvases and podcasts. But evening, that's when the real battles commence. It's the laundry room that starts it. There's a washer and dryer tucked into a tiny room behind a sliding door off the mudroom. I figured if I do my load at night, I can avoid another morning showdown. I slip down the hall, basket balanced on one hip, and surprise, Dax is already there, leaned back in his chair with a heap of clothes at his side. He glances up, grins wide. Planning a late-night laundry heist? I resist the urge to drop my basket and run. It's called hygiene haze. You should try it sometime. He gestures at his pile. I'm on my 3rd round. You're lucky the machine survived. Do you break it already? I ask, peering at the control panel, which looks normal except for a single button that's been forcibly sharpied, "Start here," in Marcus's handwriting. I improved it, he says poker-faced. Now it only sings show tunes when the load finishes. I can't tell if he's kidding, but I'm too tired to find out. Move over, I need the washer. He pulls back, arms raised in a pantomime of surrender. All yours. The room is barely wide enough for both of us. The dryer's heat is oppressive, and the air smells like a chemical distillation of mountain spring. I wedge myself between the machines and start loading my laundry, aware of his eyes on me the whole time. Bet you can't fold faster than me, he says, and I see the glint that means he's serious. You want to race laundry folding? Unless you're scared, he says. I've survived art school critique sessions. You think a little wrinkle frightens me? He snorts. Winner picks the next movie. Loser buys popcorn. Deal, I say, already plotting my attack. I start the washing machine, and then we both wait for the dryer to finish. There's a silence that should be awkward, but instead it just feels like the pressure drop before a storm. When the buzzer finally sounds, we move at the same time, me yanking the door open, him spinning in close, both of us grabbing for the hot pile inside. Hands off my towels, I warn. He grabs the 2 yellow ones, tosses them in the air, catches them effortlessly. I don't see your name on them, he says. The folding begins. I go for volume, aggressive and slightly sloppy, corners be damned. He's methodical, almost surgical, and his stacks grow with infuriating symmetry. You're cheating, I say, flapping a twisted bedsheet at him. How is this cheating? He's not even looking up, just folding, folding, folding. You've obviously watched YouTube tutorials. He grins, not denying it. You're just mad I'm better at domesticity than you. It's all going fine until I pull out a handful of his clothes and realize there's a pair of my red lace panties tangled in his athletic shorts. We both see it at the same time. There's a pause. He doesn't say anything, just picks it up by the waistband and holds it out to me, eyebrows raised. Did I throw my clothes in without checking if he already had a load going? That sounds like something I would do. I see you're washing your delicates with my gym gear, he says. I feel myself turn a color that matches the bra. I have a system, I say, snatching it from his hand. I try to stuff it back into the basket, but the damage is done. Dax shakes his head. Marcus has systems. You have entropy and luck. We finish in silence, stacking the last of the towels and baskets, neither of us mentioning the panties. I watch as he wheels out of the laundry room with a stack on his lap. I take my basket of sheets and towels, hands shaky, and I'm pretty sure, for the first time in my life, I might want to lose the next one. Chapter 5. To keep the downward trend of my life going, the mail I pick up from my apartment the next day contains no fewer than 3 rejection letters. I'm deep in the pit of my own artistic self-loathing when Dax thunders into the kitchen, wheels of his chair scuffing the tile with just enough force to suggest a dramatic entrance. I don't look up. I'm too busy stabbing the eraser end of my pencil into a crumpled gallery rejection letter, trying to decide if it's worth composing an equally crumpled response. There's a drying brush in a mug at my elbow, and next to that, a mug of coffee I've already reheated twice and still not finished. The countertop is littered with a museum-grade collection of passive-aggressive stationery. Thank you for your submission. At this time, we are pursuing alternative creation. And my favorite, please feel free to resubmit after further developing your artistic voice. I'm contemplating whether to take that literally and start screaming in color when I hear the clink of glass on glass. Dax is wielding a bottle of wine between his thighs, the label so fancy it practically glows, and he's balancing 2 goblets precariously between his fingers as he wheels. For a second I forget to be annoyed because it's actually impressive he hasn't shattered either his kneecaps or the stemware. He's wearing a button-up, sleeves rolled to the elbow, forearms on full display. If he's trying to flex, it's working. "Did someone order a victory lap?" he announces, setting the glasses down with a flourish. "I ordered silence and maybe a gun," I say. He laughs, the sound bouncing off the stainless steel appliances and echoing in the vault of my humiliation. "That's fair, but I come bearing alcohol and news." "Let me guess," I say, finally glancing up. "You've solved world hunger, or at least discovered a new protein powder." I watch as he works the cork out of the bottle, his hands strong and quick, the knuckles a little scuffed from God knows what. They're the hands of a man who's been fixing things, but maybe breaking them first. He pours, and the wine flows thick and red. I landed the client, the one my firm's been chasing for months. It's practically $1 billion account. He hands me a glass, careful but unceremonious. I figure with my cut I could finally buy that private island in the Arctic. I raise an eyebrow, but take the glass. "You'd last 5 minutes before the penguins staged a coup." "Joke's on you, penguins are Antarctic." He grins, swirling his wine. "And now you owe me a forfeit." I can't help it, I smile just a little. Dax leans in, elbows on the counter, and studies the battlefield of failure splayed before me. "Rough day?" he asks, softer now. I swirl my own glass, watching the wine cling to the side, refusing to let go. Just the usual, 3 rejections in 12 hours, new personal best. He picks up one of the letters, scans it with mock solemnity. "Further develop your artistic voice. Translation, we're looking for less of you and more of everyone else." I snort, and it's dangerously close to a real laugh. "You missed your calling as a fortune cookie author." "Nah," he says, "you just need better packaging." "Is that what you tell your clients?" I say, gesturing at his phone, which is buzzing on the counter already. "Rebrand and relaunch, pivot to video." He doesn't answer the phone. Instead, he sips the wine thoughtfully. Then he says, "I think you're perfect as is. What 8 years in marketing has taught me is you don't have to change anything about you. What you have to change is how you show who you are. That's packaging." "How would you package me?" "Naked, with a big pink bow around your neck." I choke a little on the wine. "That doesn't sound very professional." "Oh, you're asking for a free marketing consultation." "I mean, I'm an artist, so I suck at marketing, and I can't afford someone to help me with it." He considers this, and even though we're joking, I suddenly think how powerful a team we could be as an artist and a marketer. "Tell you what," Dax says, topping off his glass. "If you're serious, tomorrow after work, I'll do what I do best and make you a marketing plan." I have a feeling there's a lot of things he does best, and that's not top of the list, but I nod. "Congratulations, by the way," I say, because I am not so far gone that I can't be gracious. Landing a whale like that, even Marcus would be impressed. He shrugs, but the pride flickers in his eyes, blue and bright. "I told him already. He's making me a spreadsheet to track deliverables as a trophy." "Of course he is." I smile. I tease, but I do have affection for my brother's impressive spreadsheets. For a while we just drink. I let the silence hang, heavy but not suffocating, until Dax breaks it again. You ever think about quitting? He asks. I look at him over the rim of my glass. Every day that ends in Y, and yet here I am. He nods like he understands. Maybe he does. He's got that same restless ambition, the kind that never lets you enjoy a win for more than 5 seconds before the next thing demands your attention. I think you're afraid to win, he says, voice low. Excuse me? He twirls the stem of his glass again, gaze not leaving mine. You're great at losing. You make it into an art form. But you've got no plan for what to do if someone actually says yes. That's not true, I protest. But it is, and we both know it. He leans in, smile softening. You should practice saying yes to good things, just in case. I want to argue, but the wine is warming my insides, and the defeat is less sharp with him here, making the worst day of my month feel almost like a shared joke. He raises his glass and waits while I pour myself another glass. To spectacular failures, he says, and even more spectacular victories. I clink mine against his, the sound loud and clear and maybe a little defiant. The sip is good. It goes down easier than the last 12 hours of my life. To not giving up, I add, voice steady. Not even if it kills us, he says fiercely. We drink to that, and this time my laugh is real. We migrate to the living room, our wine sloshing in matching glasses, and I collapse onto the sofa with all the grace of a college kid at a bad party. Dax parks his chair at the end and uses his hands to lift his feet up onto the coffee table. His Italian leather loafers are perfectly pristine, and his feet immediately fall to their sides, like he's doing ballet position number 5, and I giggle. He points to his glass and says, You know, I had to physically fight 3 grandmothers for this bottle at the store. Physically fight, or just passive-aggressively wheel through the aisle until they gave up? I ask, swirling my own wine. I'll have you know there was a ramp involved, he says, deadly serious. Those things are basically X Games territory. I lost control on the downhill and took out a garbage can. I snort. At least you saved the wine. He lifts the bottle from his lap in salute. Always. Then he puts the bottle down on the table. There's a silence, but it's not the awkward kind. I find myself studying him, trying to reconcile the past with the version sitting in front of me now. He's steadier than he used to be. I suppose most people are. I'm the exception on that one. I thought he was handsome as a kid, but Dax as an adult is almost unbearably hot. His disability is just a fact of life, and it seems almost strange to call it that when I have yet to see it hold him back in any way. So, I say, what's it like, I gesture vaguely at his wheels, not wanting to be insensitive, but also dying to know. The wine is making me loose-lipped. He grins. You mean, what's it like being the hottest guy in a 10-mile radius who can also pop a wheelie? I laugh. Sure, that. He becomes serious for a moment, his whole body stilling. Even the air in the room seems to stop moving. Honestly, it's challenging. Every single daily task takes me 3 times longer. There's no such thing as a 5-minute shower or sleeping in, but still making it to work on time. I have to pay attention to my health like I'm a 90-year-old, checking my skin, renewing anti-spasm medicine, keeping tabs on my blood pressure, keeping track of what my body needs in my head because the physical cues are gone. I never got to have my carefree 20s. And then there's the constant assumptions about me. Being around other people feels like a battle all the time. I'm just a person, just a dude living the hand he was dealt. Not a symbol to motivate you to be more grateful for your own life. Not an example, not a burden on society or on my family. The things people have said to me, I swear. His voice trails off. He's not looking at me, but down into his wine glass. It's the most I've ever heard him say at one time, and I don't quite know how to respond. He moves through the world with so much confidence, I never suspected he had this kind of turmoil under the surface. I feel bad for the thought I had just moments ago that he didn't seem disabled by his injury. Sorry, he says, looking back to me with a sheepish grin. You asked. I did. I know it's not the same, but it reminds me of being an artist and having everyone waiting for you to get a real job. Like they know what your life is like better than you do. He raises his glass again. To being misunderstood. We clink. Then, on impulse, I flicked a bead of wine at him. It lands square on the collar of his shirt, blooming like a small red badge. He looks down, mock offended. If you wanted me out of this shirt, you could just ask. I freeze, not expecting him to go there. But then the moment breaks and we're both laughing. My face is hot and it's not just the wine. You started it, I say, deflecting. You were the one who cooked pancakes shirtless my first morning here. He shrugs. Statistically, I'm shirtless about 40% of the time. I laugh again, and this time it feels easy. Maybe it's the wine, or maybe it's just that he's impossible to be around without wanting to match his energy. He lifts his legs off the coffee table and slides the wheelchair a little closer to the sofa. He's always been bold, but now there's something more deliberate about it, like he's waiting to see if I'll meet him halfway. So, he says, voice low, you going to show me some of your work, or are you afraid I'll critique it? I don't do command displays, I say, but there's no edge to it. He grins, eyes crinkling at the corners. You're a coward. I am not. R2. Fine, I say and set my glass down. But if you can't find anything intelligent to say about it, I get to choose your outfit for a week, and I'm thinking neon. He leans back in that way he does, arms behind his head. Deal. Okay, Hayes, I say, prepare to be dazzled. There's an electricity under the surface of our words. He doesn't blink. I'm counting on it. I scramble up from the sofa and go to get my sketchbook. By the time I come back, he's taken off his shoes and socks, tucking them neatly on the far side of the sofa. He's still wearing trousers and the button-up shirt with a large red stain now on the collar. There's something so absurd about the combination that I have an urge to sketch him just like this, but I push it aside. Okay, I say, shoving my sketchbook into his lap. Mock me gently. Dax raises an eyebrow, but doesn't take the bait. He rests the sketchbook against his thighs and starts turning pages slowly, deliberately. It's excruciating. He doesn't make any of the expected noises, no polite hums or vague cools. He's just reading them, like they're a language he speaks fluently. I shift on the couch, suddenly regretting everything. My wine glass is empty, and so is the bottle. How did that happen? You know, we could just skip to the part where you say, it's really good, and then change the subject, I say. He doesn't look up. This one, he says, tapping a charcoal piece. The perspective's off in a way that works. Intentional? I blink. Maybe? You made the foreground too heavy, but it kind of drags the viewer in, makes it feel more urgent, like the scene is collapsing forward. I stare at him. Then he turns the page. And here, your brush works more confident when you're not trying to be precise. You get tentative with details, but when you let yourself blur the edges, it's more emotional. Okay, art professor, I mutter. He finally glances up. Would you prefer I told you it was pretty and moved on? I mean, that's the socially correct response when someone shows you emotionally raw chaos drawings in a dimly lit living room. He closes the sketchbook and sets it on the cushion beside me. Delaney, it's good. Really good. You have a voice in there. You just keep muting it. I narrow my eyes. Was that a compliment or a very poetic insult? Both, he says with a grin. Duality, baby. I snort and grab the sketchbook before he can get sentimental about it. Well, thanks for the portfolio review. I'll be sure to send you my next newsletter. You have a newsletter? God, no. I barely have an Instagram. I post like once a month, and it's usually a meme about insomnia. He leans back, eyes still on me. Maybe you should start. Posting memes? No, letting people see what you can do. I swallow, then quickly cover it with a smirk. What if I prefer to suffer artistically in silence? He doesn't cave. Why do you think you do that? Hide behind all the sarcasm. I stare at the rim of my glass, watching the red dregs swirl. Probably because if I stopped joking, I'd have to admit I actually want things, and wanting things is dangerous. He moves closer, close enough that I can feel the warmth coming off him, can smell the wine on his breath. His knees are touching the edge of the sofa. What are you afraid of right now? I meet his gaze. The challenge in his eyes is familiar, but there's something else too, a kind of invitation. I'm afraid, I say, voice barely above a whisper, that if I let myself want something for real, I'll fuck it up. He lets that hang for a second, then leans in, all the way. Try me, he whispers. I don't think, I just move, mouth on his, tasting wine and adrenaline. It's desperate and messy and perfect, and when his hands find my waist, I gasp against his lips. He pulls me onto his lap in one motion, stronger than I expect, arms solid and sure. I feel his thighs beneath me, but the weight of my body is pushing them apart, and I'm sinking between his legs. He expertly adjusts me, lifting me with one arm and pushing his legs back together with the other, then gently replacing me balanced on one thigh. The whole maneuver takes mere seconds, and I hardly notice as my attention is on kissing his neck. I thread my fingers into his hair, and for a second we just stay there, breathing the same air. His hands trace up my spine, slow and deliberate, and I shiver. "You're shaking," he says, and there's a tenderness in it that nearly undoes me. "Yeah, well, you're not exactly steady yourself," I manage, glancing at his hands. There's a tremor there, too, subtle but real. He grins, a little wild. "Race you to the bedroom?" I laugh, then bite his shoulder through his shirt, just hard enough to make him jump. "You're on." I tumble off his lap and start stumbling towards the guest room while he keeps pace with me in his wheelchair, swerving more than usual, banging into the walls and cursing when his hand gets pinched. I'm not sure who wins when we finally crash through the doorway. Dak skids to a stop by the edge of the bed and yanks me into his lap again. He's got his hands in my hair, mouth on my throat, and I'm clawing at the buttons of his shirt like they insulted my mother. There's a fierce competitive urgency to it. Who can take more? Who can push the other further? I straddle his lap, thighs bracketing his, and grind down. My center is already aching with need, hot and wet, begging for more. More contact, more pressure, more of him. "Is this what you wanted?" he mutters, voice gone to sandpaper. "It's a start," I say, unbuttoning the last button and shoving the shirt off his shoulders. He's solid under my hands, chest broad and already flushed. The old scars there are just geography. I trace them anyway, just to watch him shiver. He shoves me from his lap backwards onto the bed. He grins, catches my wrist, and kisses the inside of it, slow and deliberate. "You're beautiful," he says, and I want to argue, but his hands are already under my shirt, palming up my ribs and making me forget how to breathe. I let him pull the shirt over my head. I'm suddenly aware of how ridiculous my bra is, black lace, totally unnecessary, a remnant of some long-ago optimism, but he seems impressed. He slides his fingers under the band, snaps it open with a practiced flick, and peels it away like he's unwrapping something precious. He leans forward, bracing himself against the edge of the bed, and nuzzles against the delicate skin of my breasts. I feel the slight stubble of his face, and then his lips soft against me, kissing and lightly nibbling. My breath catches in my throat, and a groan escapes my lips. Moments later, his calloused fingers are unbuttoning my jeans and working them off my legs. I feel a desperate eagerness, my body pulsing with need and desire, and try to press myself against his body, but he holds me back. He looks at me, and his expression is so intense I almost laugh just to break it. But I don't. I let myself be seen. "Your turn," I say, reaching for his fly. There's a moment, one heartbeat, two, where he tenses. And I get it. Getting undressed in front of someone new is always a gamble, but there are extra variables here. He works the button and zipper himself, a little awkwardly because of his seated position, and then pauses. "Need a hand?" I ask, soft, not teasing. He nods, eyes locked on mine. "If you don't mind." "Not at all." I slide the trousers down while he pushes up on the wheelchair seat to lift his hips. For a long moment I just look at his naked legs below the cotton boxer briefs, and he lets me. They are lean but still muscled. At first I thought they were completely still, but now I realize that they're quivering ever so slightly. He hooks a finger in the waistband of his boxers, then hesitates. "Just don't freak out if my legs act like they have a mind of their own." "I'll try to survive," I deadpan, and he laughs, tension breaking. He works his way out of the underwear, shifting back and forth to move down until his cock is free. I'm a little surprised to see that it's still soft, while I'm already aching with so much desire that it's physically painful. He notices my expression and sheepishly runs his fingers through his hair. "Paralyzed from the waist down," he says. "It just needs a little extra encouragement. Make some room there." I back further onto the bed. He shifts, braces his arms, and pivots to pull himself up onto the bed. It's not graceful, but it's strong and sure despite all the whine. I watch as he uses his arms to pull himself up to the headboard, his legs dragging. They're more active now, the quivers stronger and one foot twitching. I look further up and see that he's moving his hand vigorously along the shaft of his penis in confident strokes. As it grows and hardens, he stares at me, his eyes going darker than I've ever seen, deep pools of pure desire. I bite my lip and he groans. "Come here, Delaney," he says, his voice deep and rough. I straddle him, feeling the wetness of my pussy dripping down my thighs. I guide him in, hand wrapped tight around him, and he groans low and hungry. I line us up, sink down slow, and the stretch is perfect. He fills me and I rock forward, burying my hands in his hair and holding on tight. He sets the rhythm not with his hips, but with his hands on my hips. His thick fingers dig into my skin and move me on him, sending shockwaves along all my nerves. I grind down, angling for more, and when he bites my collarbone, I gasp loud enough that it echoes off the walls. "Fuck," he mutters. "Laney, you." "Don't stop," I say, not caring if it's cliché. He doesn't. He grabs my hips even tighter, slamming me down and up against him over and over until I'm shaking, every nerve melted. It takes just one flick of his thumb between us, and I break, throw my head back, and scream at the top of my lungs as the orgasm rips through me, wild and messy. I collapse onto him, boneless. He wraps his huge arms around me, holds me as my body twitches through the aftershocks and my ragged breath begins to slow. At last I am still, and I roll off him to lie at his side, my face against his shoulder, his arm around me, and both of us sticky with sweat. He brushes the hair off my face with his other hand and kisses my forehead. "You're loud," he says. "You love it," I counter, voice muffled against his chest. He laughs. "Yeah, I really fucking do." We lie there, breathing in sync. I run my hand down his chest, over the hard lines of his body. I notice, though, that his penis is already soft again, sagging against his leg. "You didn't, finish," I say, "unless I missed it." He shakes his head, lips against my hair. "Doesn't really work that way for me, but trust me, watching you is the hottest thing I've ever seen." I flush. "You mean that?" He tips my chin towards him, looks me dead in the eyes. "Yeah, I mean it." He has so much ease with the realities of his body that it makes it easier for me to accept the realities of my own. "I've wanted to do that with you for at least 15 years, he adds. I blink at him and he grins. "Did you not know that?" "No, I thought it was just me." He laughs and shakes his head. "You are so dense sometimes." "Hey!" I smack his chest, but it's rock solid and makes my hand sting. "So was it everything you hoped?" I ask, even though I'm not entirely sure I want to hear the answer. He stills. The thumb he had been tracing around my hand stops. "It was great," he says quietly. "I just wish I had the opportunity when I could still feel my dick." I don't know what to say to that. I stutter out, "Oh, I'm sorry." He pulls me even closer to him. "Nothing to be sorry about. Life is imperfect and full of unexpected twists and turns. And getting to watch you lose control like that might be the best moment of my life so far. Even though I broke your eardrums?" He grins. "That was the best part." Chapter 6. It's not even 8 a.m. and there's already a metallic rattle from the kitchen. I blink, slow and confused, then remember that I'm in the guest room. Alone. There's a brief pause in the sound, then it resumes with more aggression. It's the dishwasher. Dax is already at it. I take a breath, comb my hair with my fingers, and shuffle down the hall, bare-legged and moving with the speed of a dying sloth. Every step is a negotiation between my skull and the floor. The kitchen is bright and aggressively tidy, the kind of morning scene you'd expect to find in a commercial for high-end dish soap. As I suspected, Dax is at the counter, back to me, and predictably shirtless. There's sun coming in at the exact right angle to highlight every muscle, every plane and angle, making him look like a Greek statue that lost a bet with a tattoo parlor. He's bent forward, transferring mugs from the lower rack to the counter at a pace that suggests he's training for some dystopian future where dishwashing is an Olympic event. The black frame of his wheelchair gleams in the fluorescent light, and the way he maneuvers around the open dishwasher door is almost balletic, in a Swan Lake but everyone's slightly hungover kind of way. I lean in the doorway, trying to yawn quietly, and watch as he levers himself to the counter's edge, reaches up and stashes a glass on the highest shelf, without even a hint of a wobble. I can barely get a cereal box down in the morning without risking bodily harm. No wonder he took over dishwashing duty from me. "Do you ever sleep?" I say, because it's the only greeting my brain can manage. "Do you ever wake up before 10? He doesn't turn, but I hear the grin in his voice. "Not if I can help it," I say, crossing to the fridge and extracting a bottle of orange juice. Dax laughs, the sound low and warm, and continues his assault on the dishwasher. I watch as he snags a spoon that's fallen to the bottom and flicks it into the utensil holder without looking, Steph Curry style. I want to be annoyed by the competence, but instead I find myself eyeing the way his shoulders flex. Memories of last night wash over me in quick bursts. Despite the hangover haze, I soften as I remember the vulnerability that's hiding right under that competence. He senses the stare, because of course he does, and pushes the dishwasher shut with his footplate, then pivots to face me. You look like you could use a coffee. What gave it away? I mutter, and sink onto the uncomfortable kitchen chair. There's no manual for this, no protocol for what to do when you wake up after fucking your brother's best friend on the guest sheets. Dax breaks the silence. You want sugar? Milk? Just coffee, I mutter, trying to keep my hands from trembling. He passes the sugar anyway. Sometimes it helps, he says. Soft, almost kind. I cradle the mug, drink too fast, scald my tongue. I can't stop fidgeting. I pick at the label on the mug, tear it off in little flakes. I don't look up. Everything feels so awkward. I mumble to him. We were drunk. It happens. You don't need to... He's silent, studying me. I expect a joke, a jab, anything to break the tension. But instead he just nods once. If that's what you want. He taps the table once, twice, like he's considering his next move. You know, you were the one who jumped me. I snort. There it is, our familiar dynamic. That's not how I remember it. He grins and leans back in his wheelchair. Pretty sure I have the bruises to prove it. The memory flashes, me on top, hands in his hair, gasping his name, and I flush so hard I might vaporize on the spot. So, he says, I'm going into the office today, but I promised you a personalized marketing plan when I get back. I stare at him. I thought that was a drunken promise to be forgotten in the morning. Ah, Laney, he says with a smirk. I never say anything I don't mean. Before I can think too hard about that one, he's disappeared down the hallway. I'm in the sunroom when I hear his car peel away from the curb. I'm truly alone, just me and the art. There's no one to notice or criticize if I go and watch reruns of the Great British Bake Off instead. The temptation is enormous. Already my brain is giving me justifications. A relaxed mind is more creative. After one episode, I'll be in a better headspace for art. What I really want is to not have to think. I want to zone out and avoid thinking about what I need to get done and about what last night is going to do to my relationship with my brother. The only thing that stops me running to the TV is knowing that Dax is planning to talk marketing with me when he gets home tonight. If I don't finish at least one of these collections, there's not going to be anything to promote. So I lose myself in the art instead. I spread out what I have around the floor to give me a better view of what's missing. Half-finished ink drawings, charcoal smudges, watercolor washes that bled too far and too fast. The chaos looks deliberate when it's all laid out like this, like it belongs to someone who knows what she's doing. I almost believe it. I sit cross-legged in the middle of it all and open my sketchbook to a blank page. No music, no distractions, just paper, pencil, and the low hum of the air vent clicking on. I don't realize I've been drawing for over an hour until my spine starts to ache. The sketch is messy, fast, thick strokes, loose lines, but there's movement in it. A curled hand, a back turned slightly away, a tilt of the head that's unmistakably familiar. Dax. I scowl at the page like it betrayed me. It's not even a full likeness, but the posture gives it away. The lazy lean he does when he's half listening but fully focused. The way his shoulders hunch just slightly forward when he's thinking. I hadn't meant to draw him, it just happened. Like my hand was doing something my brain didn't sign off on. I start a new page. This time I focus on abstraction, curved shapes, textured shading, but my mind drifts anyway. I think about how he looked last night, his eyes dark with desire. I've been wanting to do that with you for 15 years. I never say anything I don't mean. I press the side of the pencil a little harder, shading in a swirl of shadows. My heart's doing that annoying thing again, the fluttery, weightless flip, the one that tells me I'm on a slippery slope, the one I've ignored before and regretted every time. I can't stop thinking about what he said. You have a voice in there, you just keep muting it. It keeps looping in my head like a lyric I didn't know I'd memorized. It's infuriating, and worse, it's kind of beautiful. I shake it off and force myself to look back at the art in front of me. I pull together the sketches that feel like they belong to the same breath, the same rhythm. There's a collection in there, I can feel it. A through line, something about motion and stillness, softness inside sharpness. I start organizing, grouping, marking ideas with sticky notes. This is the most focused I've been in weeks, months maybe. And still, under the drive to get it done and make it real, There's a quiet thrum of something else, a thought I haven't said out loud yet. If I finish this collection, and we actually launch it, he's going to be part of that moment. He'll be the first person to see it live, to hold the print copies, to say I told you so with that infuriating, perfect smirk. And I don't know if I want to scream or kiss him when that happens. Probably both. But first, I have to make something worthy of that moment, so I keep drawing. Dax rolls in just after 6, suit jacket hanging over the back of his chair. His hair's a little messy, like he's run his hands through it a few too many times, and there's a crease between his brows that still hasn't faded. You look like someone made you sit through a corporate poetry slam, I say from my spot at the kitchen table, sketchbook in front of me, untouched. I left the sunroom an hour ago and ate a makeshift supper. He snorts. Close. Branding workshop. One guy spent 15 minutes explaining the emotional arc of the font Helvetica. I wince. Brutal. He wheels closer, notices the way I'm still staring at the same blank page. You stuck? Perpetually, I mutter. I was trying to figure out how to post one of my pieces without sounding like a total tool. Dax pauses, then sets his laptop bag on the table and pulls out a notebook. I'm going to show you something, he says, already flipping pages. Just hear me out. What is this, a surprise lecture? No, it's a real plan. For you. His voice is calmer now, grounded. The teasing edge is gone. That gets my attention. He pulls a folded sheet from the notebook and lays it between us, a timeline sketched out in colored pens, complete with post-it notes stuck to the corners. I spent my lunch break on this, he says. Don't judge the colors. I blink. I still didn't quite believe he was going to do it. Week 1, soft relaunch of your art page. We pick 3 pieces you're proud of, doesn't have to be perfect, just real, and post them with captions that tell a story. People connect with narrative more than technical skill. I stare at the sheet. You made a content calendar. Week 2, he continues. You post a time-lapse or a messy desk photo, let people behind the curtain. Week 3, we open commissions, but only 3 slots. Scarcity makes demand. You sound like an actual professional, I say, dazed. He shrugs, but there's a quiet confidence in the way he taps the page. This is what I do for clients. Brand clarity, strategic rollouts. I glance at the plan again. It's thoughtful, smart, specific, and worst of all, it sounds like it might actually work. I thought you just made logos and told rich people where to put their fonts, I say softly. He gives me a look. I help people take their ideas seriously, including you. That shouldn't land as hard as it does. Your clients must love you, I say, quieter now. Dax meets my eyes. They don't always, but the ones who've been sitting on something real, something good, they usually come back after launch and say, I didn't think I could do this until you showed me how. There's a beat of silence. I swallow, then nod toward the page. And you think I'm one of those? I know you are. I look down at the calendar again, trying not to let him see how much that cracks something open in my chest. He leans back, stretching his arms over his head. Also, if you follow my plan, I'll make pancakes again. You're bribing me with baked goods now? I'm using layered incentive strategy. Keep up. I laugh, shaky but real. Fine, I'll try it, but I reserve the right to abandon the whole thing and dramatically delete my account halfway through. Deal, he says, but only after week 4. I've got a whole engagement spike planned for week 4. Of course he does. Silence stretches between us. How have I ever survived being 5 minutes in a room with this man and not jumping his bones? I have a sudden vision of literally leaping towards him, rolling him straight into the wall of the kitchen, holding him there with my lips. I shiver. He's still looking at me, and I wonder if he's thinking something similar. But just as I'm about to act on the impulse, both of our phones buzz at the same time. I frown and pull the phone from my pocket at the same time that Dax grabs his from his bag. It's an email from Marcus. There's a delay in the grant funding. He's on his way home, and he'll be needing his room back. I reread the words 3 times before they make sense, and when they do, my stomach drops like I missed a step in the dark. That's it then. No more pancakes and pantry sabotage and late-night laughter over wine. No more Dax shirtless in the kitchen. I'm going back to my basement apartment alone, now with more mildew. I look up. Dax is staring at his phone, the screen still glowing in his hand. For a heartbeat I see it, the devastation on his face, a flicker of, oh no, not yet, not like this. And then it's gone. He breathes in, game face on. Easy grin sliding into place like armor. "Well," he says, voice too light, "looks like you'll be reunited with your own sheets at last." I manage a thin smile. Yeah. Neither of us moves. The kitchen is too quiet now, all the warmth sucked out of it by a few lines of text. He spins his chair slightly, wheels a few inches back like he needs the space. I grip the edge of the counter, knuckles tight. What am I supposed to say? Thanks for the dishwasher flirtation and the best sex of my life and the pancakes? Hope we can still nod politely at each other when I come over for holidays? One drunken night with my childhood crush isn't exactly what futures are built on. And now there's no time left to find out what else it could have been. I swallow the lump forming in my throat. "Well," I say, "I guess I should start packing." Dax doesn't stop me. He keeps whispering filthy, beautiful things that make me fall apart faster. "That's it," he breathes. "So fucking gorgeous when you fall apart. Let go for me." I do. With a cry I try to swallow, body jerking against his fingers as the orgasm rolls through me, sharp and fast and overwhelming. I would have fallen backwards onto the floor if not for his other arm tightening around my back and holding me steady as a rock. When I finally open my eyes, he kisses my cheek, then my temple, then murmurs against my skin, "Guess you earned it." I laugh, still shaking, as he pulls the narwhal sock from behind his back and tucks it into the waistband of my underwear like a prize. I get off his lap and give a silly bow. The room quiets. The churn of the washer fades into the background. We're staring at each other now, and I know we're both thinking about the same thing, that this is almost over. That any day now, I'll be hauling my half-used shampoo and emergency cardigan out of the hall closet and sleeping under a leaky ceiling again. That this, us, whatever it's become, only exists in borrowed time. "So," he says finally, "you making any progress on the moving plan?" I want to laugh, but the sound lodges somewhere below my ribs. It's not like I have a ton of options. I can couch surf with Tara, but her boyfriend's allergic to cats and me. Or I can start over in a shoebox with water damage and a view of the dumpster. Both seem equally appealing. He leans back, runs a hand through his hair. The gesture is less cocky than usual, more human. "I hate this," I say before I can stop myself. The not knowing, the not belonging. I keep waiting for someone to show up and tell me it was all a mistake, that I was never supposed to be here in the first place. Dax doesn't flinch. "You were always supposed to be here." I blink, floored by the conviction in his voice. He shrugs like it's no big deal. "You fill up a room, Laney. Even Marcus knows it, though he'd rather build an algorithm to analyze it than just say the words." "You're not exactly a wallflower yourself," I say softly. He grins. "I've been told." We're quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet. Less like a standoff, more like the last breath before you jump. He drops his gaze, suddenly sheepish. "Look, I didn't expect to fall for my best friend's sister, but the real honest truth is I've been pining for you since the day I met you." "You can't possibly remember." "The exact day?" he interrupts. "Yeah, I can. I was 10. You were 7. You stormed in while Marcus was showing me how he organized his Pokemon cards. You had glitter on your face. You were wearing a tiara and one sock. Oh, God. You demanded that if I was going to hang out with your brother, I had to promise 2 things. I narrow my eyes, half laughing. "What?" "1, never let him be cooler than me." "Okay, yeah, obviously. And 2, Dax pauses, the grin softening just slightly. "You made me pinky swear that when I got a girlfriend, she had to be at least as cool as you were going to be when you grew up." I bury my face in my hands. Why was I like this? He laughs, voice warm and low. "You were completely terrifying and kind of magical." I peek at him through my fingers. "And you actually remember that?" "Of course I do." He leans in slightly, voice softer. "It was the first time I thought, holy shit, this girl is going to run the world someday." I stare at him. He looks back, totally serious now. "Look, if you want me to back off, say the word. I'll go back to being the annoying roommate who drinks your coffee and calls you at 3 a.m. to kill spiders, at least until Marcus gets home. But I'd rather not lie about what I want. Not anymore." "Until Marcus gets home," I repeat with a sigh. I wish I could say that my brother would be supportive and delighted to see his sister and his best friend getting together, but I'm not that delusional. There's a million reasons why Marcus would flip if he ever found out about this. I don't know what to do, Dax says, dragging his fingers through his hair. This is torture. I've wanted you for years, but Marcus is family. Family doesn't get to decide who you screw, I say, aware of the bite in my tone. He laughs, but it's bitter. That's the point. I don't just want to screw you. I blink, caught off guard. Oh. Dax reaches for the laundry basket, grips it so hard the plastic groans. I don't want to lose this. Or you, or him. But mostly, I don't want to lose you before I even get to try. My mouth is suddenly desperately dry. I take a shaky step closer. You're not going to lose me. Not unless you go full asshole, which statistically seems unlikely. He snorts, a real smile cutting through the tension. You underestimate my capacity for self-sabotage. The washer clicks off and the room is suddenly silent, save for the thrum of blood in my ears. I want to kiss you right now, he says, quiet, like it's a secret. Then do it, I whisper, and lean down, as though I could even handle a round 2. He presses his lips to mine, then says, You taste like dryer sheets. Shut up, I say, and kiss him again, harder. He pulls me closer until I'm nearly in his lap again. That's when we both hear the click of the front door opening and we spring apart. The laundry room is right next to the front door, so we only have seconds to act like we haven't just been baring our souls and bodies to each other. The door swings open with a click so decisive it could slice air, and Marcus is back, all 6 feet 3 inches of him, looming in the entryway with 2 rolling suitcases and an overstuffed messenger bag crossways across his chest. His hair is even shorter than before, trimmed to a military spec, and he's wearing the same shade of blue in his shirt that he used to wear for science fairs, back when he needed people to take him seriously. He stands on the threshold for a beat, scanning the perimeter like he's about to defuse a bomb. His gaze lands on me, then Dax, then back to me. He doesn't look surprised to find us both here, just mildly inconvenienced. Hey, he says, voice flat with jet lag. Welcome back, I blurt, nearly tripping over my own feet as I rush to grab the smaller suitcase. It weighs more than I expect, and I have to do a weird shuffle to get it over the lip of the entryway. Easy, Marcus says, taking it back from me with one hand, barely registering the effort. You'll break a toe. Behind me, Dax does his best impression of an unbothered bystander. Nice trip, he asks. Marcus grunts. I sat between 2 grad students who spent 10 hours debating the ethical implications of AI and quantum computing. I almost chewed through my seatbelt. He dumps the suitcases by the stairs and immediately starts unzipping them, pulling out a series of perfectly folded shirts and lining them up on the bench by shade. Whites, then blues, then a stripe of neutrals. I watch, vaguely hypnotized. Despite how pristine they all look, I know they're on their way to the washing machine. Dax grins, but it's forced. You're just jealous you didn't get to moderate. Moderating implies anyone ever listens, Marcus deadpans, then opens the messenger bag and pulls out a stack of color-coded notebooks. How's the house? Still standing, Dax says, though you might want to check the water heater. It made a noise yesterday like it was plotting an uprising. Marcus doesn't smile, but I see a flicker of approval. Good to know. He glances at me, eyebrows raised. Did you get the leak in the laundry room sorted? Yeah, I say, swallowing the urge to over-explain. Dax fixed it, mostly. Dax fixed it, Marcus repeats, like he's double-checking a variable in an equation. Dax gives a lazy salute. I have many talents. Noted, Marcus says. After a minute, he says, You two seem lively. He says it without looking up, but I feel my cheeks go hot anyway. He snaps the suitcase shut and moves it to the hall closet. He takes a water from the fridge, pops the cap, and drains half in one go. Dax and I are at opposite ends of the kitchen, like rival chess pieces waiting for the next move. So, Marcus says, wiping his mouth, what did I miss? I start to answer, but Dax jumps in first. Laundry, and Lainey's working on her portfolio. Marcus raises his eyebrows. Oh, you're painting again? He sounds surprised, like he'd already written off the possibility. Yeah, I say, but the word comes out a little small. Good for you, Marcus says, like he's talking to a child or a particularly skittish puppy. We spend the next few minutes in a holding pattern, Marcus checking emails, Dax absently spinning his phone, me straightening and re-straightening a pile of magazines that has never once been out of order. The silence gets weird, then unbearable. Marcus looks up, eyebrows knitting. Did something happen while I was gone? No, I say, but my voice jumps on the syllable. He squints like he's scanning for irregularities in a code base. You're acting weird. Just tired, I say. I should go get the last of my stuff out of your room. I bolt for the bedroom. Chapter 8. The world's most depressing packing party happens in Marcus's room, which is to say, I'm here alone, surrounded by the kind of hospital-grade lighting and neurotic neatness that makes even my thoughts feel lint-free. I have commandeered a chunk of floor, spread out a thick, wrinkled blanket to protect the finish of his anal-retentive floor, and now systematically remove evidence of my existence with a roll of packing tape that has fused into a single impossible ribbon. Every time I try to tear off a piece, the tape bunches, doubles back, and sticks to itself with the resolve of an obsessive ex. My wardrobe options are stacked in uneven piles by emotional category, shit I actually wear, ironic gifts from Tara, and regret. A fourth, much smaller pile is for scarves, which I don't wear, but can't bring myself to throw away. Over the last few weeks, more and more of my crap has been migrating here. I arrived with bags and boxes crumbling from moisture, and, as is usual with my brother, I'm leaving far more organized than I came in. The suitcase Marcus left for me is one of those hard-shell numbers that looks like it could survive re-entry. I have filled exactly half of it, mostly with paint-splattered tees and the hoodie that now seems like a relic from a more innocent, flood-free time. As I reach for another layer, a lone sock, rainbow, with narwhals, tumbles from the edge of the bed and lands on my thigh. I pick it up, roll it in my palm, and remember Dax's mock-serious face as he accused me of international sock theft earlier today. Twice I glance at the door, half hoping Dax will appear, rolling in with his arms crossed and his usual brand of, I'm not here to help, but I absolutely am, attitude. I tell myself it's stupid, that the last thing I need is to see him before I go, but then I hear it, the faint metallic clatter of his chair on the hallway tiles. My hands freeze, tape dangling midair. The sound gets louder, and with it my pulse. The door is half closed, so the first thing I see is a small caster wheel, then the corner of a leather shoe, and finally his bare arm, tanned and strong as ever, reaching out to nudge the door open. He's shirtless, because of course he is. He wheels in, parks himself at the edge of the chaos, and reaches for a scarf. You planning a heist with all these, or is this just to add weight to the bag? I snatch the scarf from his hand, wrap it twice around my fist. Some of us get cold easily. He grins, and the effect is unfair, like opening a window and being hit with sunlight you're not ready for. That's not what you said this afternoon. Where's your shirt? I counter, because offense is the best defense. He shrugs, muscles moving in a way that makes me reconsider my priorities. It appears that you stole it. I follow his eyes and flush when I realize I do have one of his gray t-shirts that's so old and soft it's transparent in some places. He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Want help with that box? I just nod. He grabs the roll of tape, manages to tear off a perfect strip on the first try, of course, and starts reinforcing the corners of the cardboard. I want to ask if he's okay, if we're okay, if there's anything okay left between us at all. But instead I pick up the t-shirt, his t-shirt, gray and soft and maybe the last thing that smells like him, and scrunch it up in my lap. He notices, of course. Keeping my tea as a souvenir? I shrug, not meeting his eyes. He leans back, stretching in that way he does that always makes me think he's going to tip over backwards, yet somehow he's immune to gravity. Then he finishes taping the box and writes, Laney, fragile, in big block letters, even though I told him not to call me that. He looks like he wants to say something else, but instead he grabs the box, muscles flexing, and slides it next to the suitcase. If you need me, he says, I'll be in the kitchen, trying to convince Marcus that the water filter doesn't need to be replaced twice a day. I almost laugh, but can't quite manage it. Thanks, I say, and mean it. He starts to wheel away, but stops in the doorway, silhouetted by the yellow light from the hall. For a second he looks back, and I swear there's something he wants to say. Something like, don't go, or this isn't over. But he just nods once and disappears. I'm still staring at the taped-up box when the hallway echoes with a new sound, a staccato footstep so sharp it makes me wince. Marcus, walking with purpose, each heel strike a miniature detonation. He comes into the room to check my progress. He is, after all, planning to sleep in this bed tonight. He clocks the mess, then, impossibly, clocks Dax's t-shirt still cradled in my lap like a comfort object. For a second, his expression is pure algorithm. Intake, process, output. His eyes narrow a fraction. Why do you have Dax's shirt? I swallow because there's no good answer. Laundry got mixed, I offer, but it's so weak even I don't believe it. Marcus looks at the box, then at me, then at the door behind him. Is he here? Marcus asks, voice getting that clipped engineer at a code review edge. I should lie. I don't. He was helping with the boxes, I say. The gears in his head are practically audible. He steps further into the room. Del, I'm going to ask you something, and I want the actual answer, not the version you think I want. I brace for impact. Okay. Are you, he gestures, lost for a second in the enormity of the question, is there something going on with you and Dax? My stomach shrinks to the size of a cough drop. It's complicated. Marcus laughs, but it's just a hard exhale. No, it's not. He paces like he's laying cable in his head, and then when he turns back, he's not looking at me, he's looking through me. I told him to keep an eye on you, not to... He runs a hand over his face, suddenly very tired. It wasn't like that, I say. It was mutual. He stares, and the silence swells until it wants to pop. Abruptly, he crosses back to the door and shouts down the hallway, Get in here, Dax! The hallway answers with silence, then wheels on tile, steady, measured, the kind of deliberate pace that says he heard everything, and he's still coming anyway. Dax rolls into the doorway, like he's walking into a boardroom, not a minefield. His expression is calm, unreadable, but I can see the tension in his arms where they rest on the push rims. You called? He says, voice flat. Marcus turns to face him. There's a moment of silence where no one moves, and I swear I can hear the heat coming off of my brother's skin. You slept with her? Marcus says. No preamble, no build-up. Dax doesn't flinch. Yeah. You said you'd look out for her, Marcus growls. I asked you to make sure that she wouldn't... Wouldn't what? I snap. Make my own decisions? He ignores me. His eyes are locked on Dax. You've known her since she was 7. Yeah, Dax says quietly. And she's not 7 now. You're my best friend. I still am. No, Marcus spits. How can you say you're my friend when you've betrayed me like this? My sister, Dax. That's against every code there is. And you, he whirls on me. I throw up my hands as though I'm innocent in all of this. Marcus is out of control for maybe the first time I've ever seen, and it's truly terrifying. I can see it on his face, the realization that he's no longer the one calling the shots. You just crash through life like nothing is breakable, and everyone else has to pick up the pieces while you're off breaking the next thing. What does that mean? I protest. You never stop and think a single second in your life. I wish I could be as empty in the head as you sometimes. Your actions have consequences. Dax is... He stops a moment, breathing hard, maybe realizing that what he's about to say is not going to come across well. I'm what? Dax interrupts, his eyes sharp like a blue flame, his voice low and dangerous. You know, Marcus shouts. I don't. Tell me, Dax says. Marcus shakes his head. You're vulnerable. You're... Don't, Dax says, and now his voice is ice. Don't you dare use that word like it means I don't know what I'm doing. You've been through hell, Dax. Dax rolls forward slowly, deliberately, until there's barely a foot between them. So now I'm what? Too vulnerable to make my own decisions? After everything we've been through together, you still see me as broken. I should have known broken things don't have a place in your world. Dax powers forward, and for a second it looks like they're going to crash. Marcus steps aside at the last possible moment, and Dax wheels past him without a word. I run after him. At first I think Marcus is going to grab me, but he's too stunned to notice me going. I hover outside the guest room, arms wrapped tight around myself, watching as Dax hurls socks and sweatpants and a travel mug into a pile with all of the ceremony of a police raid. He pauses long enough to yank a t-shirt over his head, nearly rips the collar in the process, then slams a drawer so hard the lamp on his nightstand jumps. He glares at it like it's personally responsible for every wrong in the world. He finally looks up. His face is red, but not in the way that means he's been crying. It's more like it's been sandblasted. You have something you want to add? He asks harshly. I shake my head. He shoves another handful of clothes into the bag, then zips with a violence that makes my teeth hurt, wheels around to face me, and for the first time his voice cracks. You know what he said after my accident? first week I was home, before they even took the stitches out, he said, "At least you won't die in a ski crash now." Like it was a safety feature. I try to picture Marcus saying something that callous, and sadly it sounds exactly like him. I have an urge to excuse it, but now is not the time, and Dax knows better than anyone that Marcus has an unusual way of dealing with the world. 20 years of friendship, and the moment I broke my back, I became something different to him. From that day on, I haven't had a single real friend. The raw pain in his voice wraps itself around my heart. I wish it wasn't true. Tears are gathering in my eyes, but I breathe hard through my nose to keep them from falling. I know Dax would take it wrong if I start blubbering. "I'm sorry," I say again. He lets out a long, uneven breath, then pivots the chair and slings the duffel bag onto his lap. In the living room, Dax is already at the door, keys in hand, bag slung across his lap when Marcus catches up and looms over both of us like an accidental parent. "You're just going to leave?" Marcus says, incredulous. Dax doesn't turn. "Yeah, I am." The moment the door slams behind him, Marcus glares at me like it's my fault the house is emptying out. "Nice work, Delaney." That's it. Something snaps, and I'm not sure if it's the last of my patience or just the last of my fucks. "No," I say, voice steady for once. "This is all your fault. You never saw him as an equal. Not once." Marcus recoils like I slapped him. "You think you're protecting everyone, but you're just making sure nobody can ever be more than what you decide they are. You did it to Mom, you did it to me, and now you've done it to Dax too. You drive away every single person in your life because you try to force them to stay in your little box." Marcus stiffens like I fired a shot across his chest. For once, he doesn't have a comeback. No clipped lecture, no icy deflection, just silence and that flicker of wounded pride he tries so hard to keep buried. I step forward, my hands clenched at my sides. "You didn't even ask him, Marcus. You just assumed. You decided he was fragile or broken or not thinking straight, and that made it okay to treat him like a problem you needed to manage." I didn't mean," he starts, but I cut him off. "Yes, you did mean to, because you always mean to. That's the thing. You're not careless, Marcus. You're calculated. You measure people and decide how much space they're allowed to take up. And if they try to push past that, you shut the door, or you shame them, or you act like they're being unreasonable for not fitting into whatever rigid little algorithm you've built for your life." His jaw tightens. "He's my best friend." "Then maybe you should have treated him like one." I watch him flinch again, and for a moment I feel it. Guilt, maybe. The ache of pushing too hard. But it's buried under years of swallowed apologies and second chances that never came. "I'm not the same girl you left to babysit your spreadsheets while you went off and became everyone's golden boy," I say, quieter now. "And Dax, he's not your responsibility. He never was." Marcus finally speaks, voice low and raw. "He almost died, Laney. You think I wasn't there for that? You think I didn't see what it did to him?" I shake my head. "I think you never stopped seeing what he lost. You never let yourself see what he still is." Silence stretches, thick and uncomfortable. I don't know if he's going to yell or walk away or implode on the spot. But he doesn't do any of those things. He just sits on the sofa, heavy, like someone finally unplugged the battery that kept him running. "I didn't want him to get hurt," Marcus says, eyes on the floor. "And I didn't want you to, I don't know, get stuck in some mess you couldn't see coming." "Well, too late for that," I say, but there's no venom in it anymore. I stand there, adrenaline fading, chest still tight. There's an ache behind my sternum, sharp and sudden. It's like stepping off a cliff. I know with absolute certainty that I'm in love with Dax. The realization is so abrupt, so physical, it makes me nauseous. I press my palms to my eyes and will the feeling to disappear. It doesn't. "I have to go," I stammer. Marcus doesn't move as I get the suitcase into my car. Chapter 9. I wake to the damp sound of my own heartbeat back in my dark, cramped apartment. First instinct, grope for my phone, eyes barely open. There's a half-second of hope, a dumb, traitorous flutter in my chest, and then I see the notification panel. Still nothing. No new messages, no missed calls, no cryptic memes from Dax, even though it's been 3 days since he peeled out of the driveway like he was late for his own funeral. I scroll the home screen as if the act of flicking my thumb will summon a text into existence. All I get is the same empty top of thread from the last night I saw him. You're alive, right? The read receipt mocks me. 3 days, 0 response. I let the phone fall on my face even though it hurts. If I lie perfectly still, maybe gravity will reverse and pull the words I want to say out of my chest and into the phone. Maybe not. I stare at the crack in the ceiling, counting the spider webs. There are more today than there were yesterday. Eventually, survival instincts outvote depression, and I drag myself out of bed. The kitchen is cold and hostile, white counters too clean for a human, and the fridge's hum is the loudest thing in the world. I take down a mug, and for a second my hand stops in midair, because it's the one he poured my coffee in the first morning at Marcus's. I run my thumb over the chipped edge, then fill it with coffee so strong it peels my gums. Routine is supposed to be grounding. I make coffee, I brush my teeth, I arrange my art supplies on the tiny desk. I try to work, but the only thing I can think to paint is the inside of my own skull. Everything I start turns into a self-portrait. I draw lines over and over, erasing them until the page is gray and sullen. My phone vibrates, adrenaline spikes, then crashes. It's just an alert from the electric company, reminding me I forgot to pay the bill. I picture the grid failing, plunging my apartment into darkness. At least then I wouldn't have to see how empty it is. I pace, I look at the phone, I sit, I look at the phone, then I look over at the color-coded paper Dax made for me. I should implement his plan. Maybe he'll notice, maybe he'll reach out. But it's impossible to focus on marketing when I'm this worried. I try calling him again. It rings and rings, ratcheting up my anxiety. Voicemail picks up. His greeting is unchanged. Hey, it's Dax, you know what to do. There's a beep. I freeze, brain blank. I say, instantly regretting it. It's me, Laney, obviously. I laugh, brittle. You probably know that. Screening my calls. Ouch. I force a smile as if he can hear it. I just wanted to see if you're okay, or alive. Both would be nice. The next part is harder. I stare at the mug, still half full, and the words come out without my permission. I miss you. Not in a stalker way, more in a, the silence is very loud and I kind of hate it way. I almost hang up there, but I don't. I'm sorry about everything, I say soft. I'm sorry for letting Marcus get to you and for making it worse. Mostly I hope you know you're not alone, even if you want to be. I kill the call before I can say anything else stupid. I have to go out and look for him. I can't keep sitting at home worrying. The only place I can think to go is the grocery store we went to together, as though he's looking for emotional catharsis in the dairy aisle. He's not. I walk back to the car, sit for a long time, and text him again. Went to our grocery store, but you're not here. The message delivers, goes unread. I throw my phone onto the passenger seat and scream just to see what it feels like. Turns out it feels a lot like losing. I'm out of places to check. I don't even know where he works. I don't know him well enough to know what gym he goes to, what coffee shop is his favorite. It stings that I feel so much for him, and yet I'm missing all these key details. But there is someone who knows him that well. I swallow my pride and reach out to Marcus. I love Dax enough to do that. But before I can even figure out what to say, a text comes in. My heart leaps up into my throat, but it isn't Dax. It's Marcus. I'm worried about him. Me too. Have you heard from him? No. Have you? No. Can you send me the address of his office and anywhere else he hangs? Gym, coffee shop? 5 minutes later, I have all 3. I start with the office. It's all glass and steel and absolute silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that feels like it's waiting to snap. A young woman at the front desk greets me with a tight smile, her blazer sharp enough to slice paper. Can I help you? I'm looking for Dax Hayes, I say, adjusting the strap on my shoulder bag like that will help me seem more like I belong here. He hasn't been answering his phone. Her finger's still on the keyboard. Are you a client? No, I hesitate, realizing I have no professional title here. A friend. She frowns. I'm not aware of any meetings on his schedule today. I'm not here for a meeting, I say. I just need to know if he's okay. She stares at me for a second too long, then glances toward the interior offices like she's trying to decide whether I'm a security issue or a human being. Hold on. She disappears through a frosted glass door. Through the window, I see heads lift, people look up from laptops, brows furrowed. The energy is stiff, clipped. Everyone is dressed in dark tones and structured silhouettes. It's less creative startup and more agency with legacy clients and quarterly reports. I shift my weight, suddenly hyper-aware of the scuff on my sneaker and the ink smudge on my wrist. A tall man in a gray suit opens the door. He has impeccable posture and a cautious expression. "I'm Nathan Blake, creative director." His tone is neutral. "You're looking for Dax?" "Yes," I say. "He was supposed to be staying with me, but he hasn't shown up the last few days, and he's not answering texts or calls." Nathan's jaw tightens, and just like that, the polished veneer cracks. "He hasn't come in all week," he says. "No notice, no out of office, just nothing. He's never done that. Even though we've talked about accommodations, he's never asked for anything. He's the most reliable person I've ever worked with." "He didn't tell anyone?" I ask, my stomach dropping. "We didn't even know he was on vacation until Tuesday," Nathan says. "He left everything on his desk, laptop, notes. He has a presentation Friday and he hasn't touched the deck." A woman nearby murmurs something half to herself. I thought maybe he was sick or something with his disability. "He's not the type to ghost," another adds quietly. "I don't think I've ever heard him talk about anything outside of work." They're all watching me now, not unkindly, just baffled, like they're trying to reconcile their perfectly professional, composed colleague with the fact that someone who is an obvious hot mess agent of chaos came looking for him. "I know he's private," I say, "but he wouldn't just disappear." A beat passes. The woman nearest the conference room, mid-40s, navy shift dress, steady voice, softens her posture slightly. "We were worried. We just didn't know who to call." I nod, throat tight. "Thank you for telling me." "If you reach him," Nathan says, "please let him know he still has a job, but we need to know he's okay. That's the priority." "I'll find him," I say. "I promise." I turn to go, heart pounding. It's not just that he's missing work. It's that Dax doesn't disappear. He shows up, he delivers, he holds the pieces together. If he's unraveling, something's really wrong. And I have to find him before it gets worse. Next stop, the gym. It's a small box on the east side, glass front, heavy on the free weights. I park and watch through the window for a minute, hoping to catch sight of his broad shoulders or the signature black frame of his chair. But the only person inside is the bored receptionist scrolling her phone and chewing gum. I go in anyway. "Hey," I say, walking up to the desk. "Has Dax Hayes been in today?" She blinks, gum frozen mid-chew. Not that I've seen. He hasn't checked in a few days, I don't think." I want to ask if he's left a forwarding address for his emotional baggage. Instead, I say, "Can you text me if he shows?" "I don't think I can do that," she says, giving me the look people save for lost pets and public meltdowns. "Okay, can you just ask him to text me if you see him? Laney." I wait and make sure she writes it down. Back in the car, I grip the wheel until my fingers tingle. The world outside the windshield is smeared by the sun, which is now bright and mean, amplifying every flaw in the dash. One option left. At the coffee shop, there's a line of customers, but it's pretty quick to see that none of them are in wheelchairs. I interrogate the barista anyway. "I'm looking for my friend who's a regular here, Dax Hayes, young guy in a wheelchair. Have you seen him lately?" She thinks, then shakes her head. "He came in Monday, but only stayed for like 15 minutes, left before his usual order was done." "Did he seem upset?" I ask, feeling stupid. She shrugs, indifferent. "He's hard to read." I buy a coffee. I don't want to just end the conversation and spill half of it before I reach the door. With nowhere else to look, I arrive back at Marcus's door. He isn't surprised to see me. "Anything?" he says. I take a shaky breath. No one's seen him since he left here. I think he's... I stop, unsure if I'm allowed to finish the sentence. Marcus steps back and gestures me inside. I cross the threshold, shoes tracking mud onto his perfect floors, and for once he doesn't say a word about it. "When did you last talk to him?" Marcus says, leading me to the kitchen. "Monday," I say. He texted a thumbs up, then nothing. I called today, but it went straight to voicemail. Marcus nods, but he's already in triage mode. Phone out, scrolling, flipping between screens with a focus I remember from childhood. "He's probably just pissed," he says, but his voice is a shade too thin, and there's a flash of fear in his eyes, worse than any lecture he's ever given. "He does this. Sometimes he needs space." He sees the doubt all over my face and says, "I'll call some people, see what I can dig up." He gets up, hovers at the edge of the kitchen, then turns back. "You okay?" I shake my head. Me neither, he says, and there's a weird comfort in that. I follow him as he walks to his home office. It's exactly as I remember. Clean lines, no visible wires, every scrap of paper filed in transparent sleeves like rare butterflies. The walls are lined with shelves, some books, but mostly binders and boxes labeled in his freakishly consistent handwriting. I used to hate this room. Felt like being scanned by airport security. But right now, the order is soothing. He gestures for me to sit, and I drop onto a chair, trying not to fidget, but my legs jitter under the table, and my hand can't let go of my phone. Marcus powers up his monitor and opens a new spreadsheet. He's already on the phone, running through a contact list faster than I can track. Yeah, he was supposed to be at work today. No, we haven't heard from him either. If he calls you, can you let me know? Thanks. He hangs up, makes a note in the spreadsheet, and is already dilating the next number. I watch, half impressed and half terrified. You run this like a search and rescue op, I say. He shrugs. I interned with FEMA in college. This is what we do for missing persons. He glances at me. Did you check the hospital? The word knocks the wind out of me. Shit, I didn't even think. He shakes his head, holding up a finger as he listens. Yeah, this is Marcus Emerson. I'm trying to get in touch with Daxton Hayes. Has he checked in today? No? Okay, thank you. He writes another note in the spreadsheet, does a search for all the nearby hospitals, and immediately starts on that list. I bite my lip, scanning the room for anything to do with my hands. He could be at his parents' house, I say, though I know that's unlikely. He hasn't spoken to his dad in years. Marcus looks at me, reading my mind. His parents are in Palm Springs for the winter. If he's there, I'll eat my tie. You don't own a tie, I shoot back. He smirks just a little. Exactly. There's an efficiency to him that I'm not used to. He used to lecture, circle a problem until it died of boredom. Now he's just taking action. Is it because this is Dax, or is it that Marcus has been changing without me noticing? Have I still been seeing him as the world's most annoying 19-year-old? He's not at any of the hospitals as far as we can tell. Maybe that's a good sign. Marcus brings up a map of the city on his monitor, overlays it with a spreadsheet, and starts cross-referencing the addresses of every gym, coffee shop, and wheelchair supplier in a 50-mile radius. For a second, I feel useless, like I'm just here to take up space and drink the bottled water he put in front of me without asking. I want to say something, anything, so I blurt, I think he's avoiding me, or us, or maybe just the universe. Marcus leans back, scanning the spreadsheet. He does that. Every time things get intense. Maybe he's better off, I say, voice cracking. I made it worse. I always do. He looks at me, and for once the hard edge drops. Stop it. You're the one who said I always break things. Marcus sighs. He was already broken when you found him. And I don't mean his back. He's stubborn, and sometimes he's an idiot, but he's not running away from you. He doesn't say the next part, but I hear it anyway. He's running from himself. I want to hug Marcus, but that's not how we work. Instead, I insult him. You're actually useful when you're not being a control freak. He grins, then returns fire. And you're almost tolerable when you're not breaking things. I laugh, and it feels raw but real. Suddenly his eyes change. I know where he is, he says quietly, his shoulders slumping. You do? He opens a drawer and pulls out a weathered folder. Where? I ask, already standing. The accident site. My eyes go wide. You mean... Where he broke his back. Marcus hands me the folder. It's labeled Dax Medical. Inside is a printout of a news story complete with GPS coordinates and a picture of a cliff trail, wet and glistening with old snow. Here, he says, pointing. If he's trying not to be found, that's where he'll be. It's not logical. It's emotional. The fact Marcus thought of it means, somewhere, under all the control and anxiety, my brother is still human. I'm moving before I even register it, grabbing my jacket, my keys, brain already mapping out the drive. Marcus follows me to the door, lingering in the hallway. Be careful, he says, and the concern in his voice is real, not programmed. I pause halfway out. Thanks. He nods, then adds, text me when you find him. Let me know he's okay. Of course. I drive with the window down, air sharp and bright. The trailhead is 20 minutes away, but I'm there in 15. I park, lock the door, and start running. Chapter 10. The trail is worse than I remember. Each rut a personal insult, every route a tripwire engineered by a vindictive god. I sprint, lungs on fire, paint-spattered yoga pants clinging to my thighs and the old hoodie bunching at my elbows. It's not a good look, but I gave up on dignity somewhere back at the parking lot when I almost sprained my wrist slamming the door. I don't even feel the chill this close to the water. I only register the raw edge of panic slicing through my chest with every step. I don't even know why I'm feeling this urgency. He's been missing for a week. Why does it feel like I have to get to this spot immediately? My logical brain left the building a while ago. The path narrows, crowded by ferns and bramble, and the sky above is a deep, clear blue, but within the forest it feels more like dusk. My shoes are barely hanging on, and I keep expecting my knees to give out, but adrenaline is a hell of a drug. My mind isn't even clear enough to register that this is exactly where Dax almost died, and I shouldn't follow in his exact footsteps. There's no place outside the panic to think about that. My brain does the thing it always does when I'm afraid. It lists every possible way this can go wrong. The top entries are: 1, I find Dax and he hates me forever. 2, I don't find Dax and he's already erased himself from the world. At some point, I start calling his name, even though it's pointless. The trees swallow my voice, spit it back as nothing but damp silence. I keep running, one foot in front of the other, until the trail spills out at the overlook. A slash of gravel and wild grass, fenced in by a split rail so old it's gray as bones. The wind is stronger up here, the ocean stretching out below like a dare. I skid to a stop, bent at the waist, trying not to puke. This is the spot. It's a gut punch to realize that this is the exact spot that Dax's life changed forever, the place where the old hymn ended and the new one began. There's still a break in the rail. I kneel down and stare at the splintered wood, reach out and gently touch it. 8 years later, this spot is still marked. This is where he lost his balance, tumbled over the edge, crashed into the rocks below. And I heard about it third hand. Never checked on him, never tried to visit or call or text. I remember the moment my mom told me over the phone, "Just so you know, there was an accident, Marcus's friend." I didn't want to think about him in a wheelchair. I didn't want to face not knowing what to say to him. I avoided sitting with his pain. I avoided him. It sounds like that's what most of the people in his life did, left him to struggle through a life-altering injury on his own, and showed back up once it felt safe, once they didn't have to experience the rawness of pain and loss. We waited until Dax had put himself back together enough to make us feel safe, to shield us from what he had to go through. I've never before thought about how incredibly unfair that was. We all let him down so completely, he would be perfectly justified in never forgiving us. Cautiously, I crane my neck over the drop-off. He's there. At the bottom of the cliff, I can just barely make out the shape of him in his wheelchair. I yell his name, but it's too far. He doesn't hear me. How do I get down there? I stand back up and look around the clearing. Finally, I see 2 parallel narrow tire tracks in the mud, too thin to be a vehicle, definitely wheelchair tracks, leading off the trail and down a sharp switchback that barely counts as a path. I follow, legs shaking. It takes longer than it should, my breath turning to vapor. The switchback is treacherous, a mess of loose stone and spindly roots, and I have no idea how Dax made it down this path, but I can still see the tracks. I look back up the way I came. He made it down, but how the fuck is he planning to make it back up? He has defied my expectations in every way possible, but I still have a hard time believing there's any way to push a wheelchair up this hill. My mind tries to raise the thought that maybe he isn't planning to, but I shove it back down. Dax is going to be okay. He has to be. I half slide, half stumble the last few yards and cautiously approach him. I don't know what I expected, but it's not this. Dax in his battered black chair, hood up, staring at the rocks with a focus so total he might as well be carved from the same stone. His hands are white-knuckled on the wheels. I can see just a sliver of his profile, the hood covering most of his face. He doesn't even blink when I crunch up beside him. I've never seen him so still. No cocky grin, no nervous fidget, just a kind of focused, deliberate collapse that's breaking my heart. There's a long, horrible minute where I just stand there, trying to catch my breath without making a sound. "Dax," I say softly, trying, and failing, not to startle him. He flinches, then looks over his shoulder, blinking like he doesn't recognize me. For a second his face is a raw, unfiltered mess, and I can see the avalanche of anger, pain, and despair he's drowning in. Then the mask clicks back into place, and he's the familiar Dax again, all cocky slouch and don't-give-a-fuck jawline. "Jesus, Laney," he says with a heavy sigh, "you shouldn't be here." I let out a shaky laugh, knees going to jello. "You're not the boss of me." He doesn't smile. He turns back to the rocks, head bowed, shoulders tense. I slide down next to him, ignoring the way my ass instantly soaks through with cold damp. I watch him, not saying anything. There's a pause, then he glances at me quick and sharp. "You look like shit," he says. "Thank you. I dressed for the occasion." He snorts, and I feel a bit of relief. I can still reach him. There's still a chance to try to make up for how his friends abandoned him when he needed us most. Yet, I can't think of anything to say that isn't stupid and far too little for the weight of this moment. The dark comes in fast and mean, shoving the last daylight into the ocean and leaving only the sharp mineral tang of dusk behind. We sit that way for a long time, the air going cold around us, until he finally speaks. "First week in the hospital, I told Marcus I was fine," he says, and I hear the tremor in his voice. He didn't buy it. Neither did my mom, but I kept saying it until everyone left me alone. He laughs, a brittle sound. "You know what sucks about physical therapy? It's not the work. It's the part where you realize every day is a new way to fail. Every single one. You think if you keep working at it, your body will come back. If you just try hard enough, you'll get back to normal. And every day you fail to do that, and you have to face that there is no normal anymore. You're never going to be that guy again." I edge closer, just enough to touch my head to the cold metal of one push rim. He doesn't move away. He keeps talking out into the wind. "I used to dream about running, not like a marathon or anything, just sprinting, chasing something. My legs would work and I'd feel the wind, and then I'd wake up and it was just..." He hits the side of his thigh hard. "Nothing. Static." "I kept it together for months," he continues. "Made jokes, got straight A's, pretended to be okay, but I used to have these..." He stops, swallows, eyes gone distant. "Moments where I'd get stuck, couldn't even get out of bed. I didn't have the strength to fight through another day. I'd just lie there and stare at the ceiling, and I hated myself for not being stronger." His hands start to shake, and he digs his nails into his palm until I can see the crescent marks. "I was scared," he says, so quietly it's barely more than a breath. "Still am sometimes." That's when he finally breaks. One tear, then two, tracking down his face in silent, bitter lines. He wipes at them fast and angry, but they keep coming. I reach up and put my hand on his, warm and trembling. For a second he goes still, like he's not sure if he should pull away or break apart. He settles for neither, just breathes, slow and ragged. When he looks down at me, his face is a mess, red eyes, wet cheeks, jaw clenched so hard I think his teeth might shatter. "I don't want to be your sad story, Lainey," he says. "I don't want to be anyone's lesson." He wipes his face on his sleeve, then leans back and closes his eyes. God, I'm such a fucking cliche. Finally, I say what's on my mind. It's not perfect, but I have to get it out. "You should never have been left to face that alone. We failed you." I swallow hard, but my voice still breaks as I admit the even harder truth. "I failed you." He starts to say something, but I stop him. "No, you protected all of us from your pain, and you never should have had to do that. You deserved to have support, and instead I was a coward. I stayed away for my own selfishness. I let you down. But I'm here now. I'm ready to share the burden with you. That's what friends do. That's what you do when you love someone." Dax's eyes snap open at the word. Love. It hangs in the air like a lit match, trembling at the edge of ignition. He blinks, startled, as if he's not sure he heard me right. Or maybe he did and he doesn't know what to do with it. I don't take it back. I hold his gaze, even as my cheeks flush and my pulse roars in my ears. He stares at me for a long, long second. Then he laughs. But it's not bitter this time. It's small, broken, disbelieving. "You love me," he says, like he's testing the weight of it. I nod. "Yeah." He exhales, a shaky, uneven thing. "You don't have to say that just because I had a breakdown in front of you." "I'm not sure it counts as being in front of me when I chased you down. You were trying real hard not to break down in front of anyone." He smiles just a little bit. "I don't know how to do this," he says. "Any of it. I don't know how to let someone in when I've spent years trying to prove that I didn't need anyone." "I'm sorry we all made you feel like you had to do this alone and never ask for help." His breath hitches, and I feel the tremor in his body all the way through my bones. "I'm scared," he whispers. I squeeze his hand tighter. "Me too." He exhales, a sound so relieved it's almost a sob. He moves to cup my cheek, but his hand trembles, so I take it and press it to my face myself. "So, it turns out you're human after all," I say. He laughs, soft and wrecked. "Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my brand." I climb onto his lap and kiss his cheek, taste the salt and the sweat. He turns towards my mouth and we kiss until my lips are raw and my heart is hammering in my chest. We break apart only because we have to, foreheads pressed together, both of us gasping. Dax is the one to break the spell. He takes a slow breath, lets his hand fall from my hair, and looks up the hill with something like determination burning in his eyes. "Speaking of accepting help," he starts, and doesn't seem to know how to continue. I follow where he's looking, at the path up the hill. He swallows, jaw working. "I didn't really think about how I was going to get back up there." "You were planning to what, crawl?" I say gently. "Wouldn't be the first time," he admits. I press my forehead to his again. "Then I guess it's a good thing you're not alone this time." He sucks in a breath. Not being alone is a whole new concept for him. 8 years, maybe even longer, maybe his whole life, he's had to do everything himself. Even a complete spinal cord injury didn't change that for him. "You're going to make me say it?" he asks. "I'm a jerk that way," I answer. He swallows hard and says, "Lainey, could you help me get up the hill?" I nod. "How?" "You push," he says, voice dry, "and I complain the entire time." I grin. Deal. I climb off his lap and stand, brushing grass off my jeans. He turns his chair towards the slope, and I get behind him. His wheelchair has a low back and no handles, but it wouldn't help if it did. I have to lean way down to get enough leverage to push uphill, and I find that I can get a grip on the rigid frame of the chair right above the seat and then lean my shoulder into his back. He pushes on the wheels, and I give the extra force needed. My sneakers slide in the mud, and I'm constantly readjusting. The hill is steep and uneven, and I have to plant my feet and lean into him with my whole body. We're both grunting unattractively as we struggle together inch by inch. When a rock or a root gets in the way, Dax alerts me to stop so he can get his front wheels over first. Slowly and absurdly, we gain ground. And he doesn't complain, not even a little. When we reach the top, we're both panting, sweat slicked and flushed. He throws his head back and laughs, a real laugh, free and startled and full. I collapse on the ground at his feet, desperately sucking in air. "I can't believe that worked," he says. When I catch my breath, I say, "I'm stronger than I look." "There's a cabin," he says. "I've been staying there." I turn my head where he's looking. It's a squat rectangle of weathered wood and rusted tin, survivor of 1,000 storms, half eaten by moss. There's a ramp over the stairs that is so much newer it's almost glowing. The wood on the ramp is so new it wouldn't have been here longer than a few days. Dax holds out a hand and pulls me up off the ground. The window is dark, but Dax wheels straight to the door and shoulders it open with a practiced jerk. Inside it's warmer, though not by much. The only light comes from a string of fairy bulbs nailed to the rafters, and the air smells like old cedar and mice. But the stove in the corner glows faintly, enough to chase the worst of the damp from the walls. Dax parks himself at the edge of the bed and peels off his hoodie. My heart leaps up into my throat as I see the muscles in his arms and that familiar strip of soft belly exposed as his t-shirt rides up. I swallow down the tight lump and say, "Okay, first things first, I have to let everyone know you're alive." I pull out my phone. He looks suddenly alarmed. "Who is everyone?" "Listen, mister, you cannot just disappear and expect no one to notice." "Who is everyone?" he asks again, more insistent. "Marcus, the receptionist at your gym, Nathan, your mother." Dax groans. "You didn't." "Is there cell signal here?" "Wi-Fi," he answers, resigned. "The password is on the fridge." I send out a few messages without detail, just a quick note to say that I found him and he's okay. When I look up, Dax is still sitting by the bed waiting for me. He guides me to straddle his lap again, my knees sinking into the padded cushion on either side of him. "Hold on tight," he whispers. I shriek in surprise as he reaches for the bed with me still on his lap. I cling to his neck as he lifts, and I move with him, but it's too much weight too fast. The balance slips, and together we crash onto the floor in a startled heap, me gasping and him swearing. There's a pause, and then we both start laughing. "I told you to let go," he groans, grinning against the crook of my neck. "You did not," I say breathless. "You said to hold on tight." "It's possible I'm a little wiped from that hill." I push up on one elbow, my hand in my hair. "But you're okay?" "Completely fine," he says. "My pride's a little bruised, but otherwise—" His fingers trace down my sides, slow and deliberate. "I like where we ended up." He's flat on his back on the floor, his legs bent underneath him, and I'm half on top of him. He continues sliding his hand down between my legs, skilled, confident, knowing exactly what he's doing. His fingers are strong, practiced, moving in slow, teasing circles that have me gasping within seconds. It's easy to feel the pressure through the soft fabric of my yoga pants. There's something so hot about the way he's half under me, flat on the floor, still controlling everything with just his hands and voice. "Come on," he breathes. "I want to feel you lose it." His fingers dip, stroke, circle, press. God. He watches my face like it's the most important thing in the world, tuned into every breath, every gasp, every stutter in my hips. I choke out. "I know," he whispers. "Let it happen. I've got you." I come with a short, sharp cry, thighs trembling around his hand. He keeps his fingers moving gently until the tremors fade. "Well," he says, totally casual, "the floor has officially earned a 5-star rating." I laugh, still breathless. "You're lucky I didn't crush you." "We should probably test the bed, too." "I suppose we can't lie here forever. What can I do to help?" He waves me off. "I got it." I watch as he uses just his arms and the tiniest hint of core strength to force himself up to sitting. He sways unsteadily for a moment, but recovers. With one hand holding him up, he reaches for his wheelchair with the other. He snaps the brakes on, then shifts his body to lean against it. He's ignoring me completely, fully focused on what he's doing. Still using one hand for balance, the other scoops up his legs, pulling his knees up to his chest. They only flop over slightly when he lets go, so he can use his hands to pull his butt onto the wheelchair footplate. "Are you totally sure this isn't one of those times you should ask for help before you end up horizontal?" I interrupt. "Totally sure," he says, grinning at me from under a flop of hair across his forehead. "Carry on then, I guess," I say. He reaches both hands behind him and gets a grip on the seat of the wheelchair, then pulls with all his strength, his powerful arms slowly straightening and hauling the rest of him up. His legs have gone straight out now. He gets the edge of his butt onto the wheelchair seat before his legs completely rebel and begin shaking and jumping in front of him. He holds tight to the edge of the seat and waits for the spasms to subside. Finally, just occasional twitching remains, and he pulls himself all the way onto the wheelchair, breathing hard. But that's just step one. Now he has to get from the wheelchair to the bed. I bite my lip to keep from offering help yet again. Don't get me wrong, it's impressive as hell to watch him do this, but at the same time, it would be a lot easier if he let me help even a little. I stand up so I'm not in the way and watch as he performs the transfer I'm more used to seeing. Finally, he's sitting on the edge of the bed, and it only took 20 minutes. He lets himself fall backwards onto the mattress with a relieved sigh. "God, I love watching you move," I say, completely unabashed. He laughs, cheeks flushed. "You're a menace." I crawl onto the bed beside him and push his chair gently out of the way with my foot. "But I'm your menace." His breath catches at that. I see it, the way those words land in his chest. The bed is narrow, the sheets rough and smelling of dust, but I don't care. I'm already half naked, shedding clothes like a snake and fast forward. He helps, fingers fast and sure, tugging the leggings down and tossing them somewhere behind us. The hoodie is next, and then he pulls me close, skin on skin, the world shrinking to the boundaries of the bed. His body is a miracle, all torque and power from the waist up, shoulders broad enough to block the moonlight, and from the waist down, smaller, awkward, his lower body always landing at odd angles. I slide my fingers into the waistband of his sweatpants and slide both them and his briefs down over narrow hips, slow and careful, until I can toss them aside. He's already partially hard, a mix of reflex and physical friction. I touch his hip. "Is this okay?" He nods, though his face is stone cold as he watches me touch the paralyzed parts of his body. "And this?" I lower my hand to his outer thigh. He nods again, says nothing. Beneath my fingers, I can feel a tingle of confused nerves misfiring. I want you, I say fierce and clear. All of you, not just the parts that still work the way they used to. I crawl up between his legs, slow and sure, dragging my fingers up his thighs as I go. He watches me the whole time, focused, mouth parted, that look in his eyes like I'm the center of gravity. I know you can't feel it, I say, voice low, but I want you to watch me anyway. His hand tightens on the sheets. Laney. Let me take care of you, I whisper. He nods, chest rising and falling fast. I lower myself and kiss his hip bone first, then lower, pressing kisses along his length, soft at first. My hands move with intent, keeping him steady, letting him see every angle, every shift of my mouth. He exhales hard, head tipping back for just a moment. Fuck, Laney. I take him into my mouth, slowly, deliberately. I look up through my lashes, meeting his eyes as I slide deeper. His gaze is fixed on mine, and I see it, the way his throat tightens, the way his hands grip the sheets, the way his whole body reacts to the moment, even if the signals of the sensation are getting lost along the way. He groans low and deep, and it shoots straight through me. I can't. Jesus, Laney, look at you. I hum around him just a little, and his hips twitch automatically. I hold him steady, hand wrapped at the base, using slow, tight pulls with my mouth, my tongue. I let spit slide down my fingers, messy and hot, until everything glistens. This is torture, he gasps, half laughing. You're going to kill me. I kiss the inside of his thigh and crawl up his body, straddling him now, chest to chest, my knees bracketing his hips. You gonna ride me into next week? He says, a hint of challenge in his voice. Oh, I'm gonna make you forget what day it is. I kiss my way down his chest, his scars, his ribs, the edges of his tattoos, before dragging my nails lightly along his arms. His hands grip my hips, guiding me forward into that perfect friction. He can't feel it directly, but he sees it on my face, hears it in the way my breath catches. I roll my hips against his pelvis, moaning into his mouth as we grind together, skin slick and hot. He growls, You're driving me insane. Good. Fuck, he mutters, voice wrecked. You feel so. I cut him off with a kiss, biting his lip, then lowering myself slowly and deliberately, feeling his cock fill me completely. I sigh deeply, fully content in this moment. Dax pulls me closer, arms around my lower back, and I can feel his whole upper body tense with the effort. My thighs are burning, and I grip the headboard behind Dax to steady me as I ride him harder. I move on him faster and faster, every nerve in my center trembling. I scream his name as I tumble over the edge, finally coming with him inside me. My pussy grips him like a vice, and I shudder in rolling waves of perfect release. My body arches into him, every muscle tensing, my whole back gripped in full-body orgasm. It crashes through me, the longest release of my life, my body trembling and tensing with almost unbearable pleasure. I can no longer form coherent words, and I just scream yes again and again as my voice goes hoarse and he holds me so tight I know I'll have bruises. When I finally collapse against him, shaking and breathless, he runs his fingers through my hair and smiles against my temple. I don't think I can move, I mumble. Welcome to the club, he chuckles, and I smack his shoulder. Chapter 11. The sunroom is empty, but I can already picture it. One wall will be shelves, actual wooden ones, not the wire rack I salvaged from a Craigslist curb alert. The windows face east, so I'll get the morning light. It smells like fresh paint and the kind of sawdust that comes from ambition. The floor creaks in the right places. It's imperfect. It's ours. Behind me, Dax rolls into the room, the tape measure draped around his neck like he's about to give a TED Talk on rug dimensions. This is it, he says, scanning the space with exaggerated gravitas. Your studio/chaos vortex. What's the verdict? I look at him, barefoot, shirtless, pencil behind his ear. He's never been hotter. I love it, I say. And you were right, the sunroom sold me. He grins, moving to park beside the window. Told you. We signed the lease 2 days ago. It's a small apartment, 2 bedrooms, wide doorways, an elevator that sounds like it might need therapy, and exactly 0 Marcus-supplied dish towels, which means we are officially on our own. Together. I drop to the floor and open the sketchbook that's been living in my messenger bag for the past 3 weeks. Dax watches as I rough in the bones of the room, window lines, shelves, a quick swirl that will probably become a mug of paintbrushes. He leans over, close enough that I feel the warmth of his breath on my neck. You gonna draw me in the corner watching you like an adoring fan? I lift an eyebrow. You mean like you are right now? He smirks. Exactly. He pulls out his phone and flips it around to show me the latest mock-up of my website. The logo is hand-drawn, a version of my emotionally damaged raccoon. The tagline reads, "Art for the days that don't make sense but still matter." You ready to launch it? He asks. My throat tightens, not with fear, but with something dangerously close to joy. The terrifying, real kind. Yeah, I whisper. Let's go. He taps the screen, and just like that, it's live. My first post is already queued. 3 sketches, 1 full-color painting, and a story about the inspiration. While we're both still looking at the screen, a text comes in from Marcus. Let me know when it's live. I have the LinkedIn post ready to go. I laugh, but a tear escapes the corner of my eye. This is what support feels like. The 2 most important people in my life are on my team. Dax slips his phone away, then hooks 2 fingers into my hoodie pocket, tugging me close. I kiss him right there on the dusty sunroom floor with our future still smelling faintly of primer. This has been Wheelie Into You by Ruth Madison. Thank you for reading. If you enjoyed this book, I hope you'll consider leaving a review. It helps a lot. You can get bonus scenes of my other books, character art, and more at my website, ruthmadisonbooks.com/bonus, and check out all of my other titles wherever books are sold.